This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter with a special episode of ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com and more of our podcasting at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And once again, our sponsor for this week is Horror Movie Yearbook, a podcast that explores horror movies from the years that they were released and compares them and contextualizes them against the backdrop of the pop culture and current events of that year. Check that out at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at HorrorMovieYearbook.com. So, today on the podcast, I'm here with not one Fekkes, but two Fekkeses.
Fekki, really.
Yeah. Fekki, yeah. And so there's a prequel joke to be had here, but yeah. So there's always two. There's one's master and apprentice.
So it's a Sith joke, not a prequel joke.
Well, they actually established that master and apprentice in episode 1. So.
Actually, they go, if you actually read the Darth Bane trilogy, they go back and establish the rule of two.
We can do that, but that's not canon anymore. That's all
true.
thrown out.
Oh, you're right. That's true.
Yeah,
I take it back.
Yeah. So I am the master, he is the apprentice.
Okay.
Correct.
But have you guys checked each other's midichlorian levels yet?
Off the charts.
Okay.
Still with the
symbiotes. They're symbiotes, you know.
They're what?
They are
symbiotes.
They're symbiotes.
The symbiotes, yes. Don't you remember Qui-Gon's lesson? They are symbionts.
No,
it's mutually beneficial for them to be with us and us with them.
That's actually an undercurring theme of episode 1 because Obi-Wan also makes the argument that the Gungans and
they form a symbiont circle.
Symbiotes.
What happens to one will surely affect the other. You must understand this.
There's a whole lot of symbiotes going on in the first episode.
You apparently did not get a lot of the undertones episode 1. The Phantom Menace?
All I remember is that one of my favorite memes was the screenshot of Qui-Gon with Jake Lloyd, and he's like, "Oh, here's your midichlorian reading. Oh, I'm sorry, you've got diabetes." So hopefully that's canon. Poor Anakin. He just didn't have enough insulin, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, we are here today to talk once again about Star Wars, The Last Jedi. My thinking with this was I wanted to get the perspective of some guests, since it was just me and Tiny for our review of it last week. And you guys are both big fans of the Star Warses. I've seen all 3 of the ones that have come out since the Disney ones with you guys.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Yeah. And Peter, since this is your first time officially on the podcast, you did do a recording at PopCon a couple years ago. Or I think you were talking about X-Men.
No, we were talking about
what superhero
what universe you would want to be in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think I remember there being like a long recording of you guys talking about Ninja Turtles, I think.
It's possible.
And I think I put it on the end of it. Yeah.
That happened, and then he stole because I wanted to be Tony Stark. I can't remember.
Everyone wants to be Tony Stark.
Yeah, well, yeah, he jumped in front of me, so like I can't remember who I picked. But yeah.
Nice.
Long story short, that was my first time on The Obsessive Viewer. So.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to finally get you on an official episode in an official capacity. And so since I always refer to Robert as Fekkes, I'm going to refer to you guys as your names, Robert and Peter. So just so you guys know, Robert's...
Yeah.
That's going to confuse everybody.
Everyone, yes. Much like I can't even make a joke because I actually really enjoyed the movie. This is what the Disney deal is doing to me. I can't be snarky about Star Wars anymore. But before we get into our discussion of The Last Jedi, since I'm actually really excited because it's been sitting for a while. Like, we've had a couple weeks to kind of process it. I don't know how many times you guys have seen it. I've seen it twice.
I've seen it twice.
I've seen it 3 times now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it a 3rd time, but I didn't have time because I took a nap instead. But
Priorities.
beforehand, yeah. beforehand, I kind of want to go through a couple of news items, kind of off the top of my head, of some stuff that's been coming up. First of all, in relation to our main topic, Solo, a Star Wars story. How are you guys feeling about Solo at this point? Since it's
first of all,
soon.
It was brought to my attention that it was even coming out this summer. I was under the impression that it came out next December. Like, I thought they were just doing annual December Star Wars movies. And then at the premiere of The Last Jedi, Peter was telling me that it was coming out. And Peter said May 4th, and I was like, well, that's dumb because that's when the Avengers comes out.
Which is like,
well, IMDb has it. IMDb has it set for May 25th.
Right.
But I had no idea that it was coming out in summertime. So it's low on the radar right now.
I think I misspoke. I think what the goal was to have episode 9 come out May 4th of 2019. But because they had, they got rid of Colin Trevorrow, they had to kind of go back to basic, or they scrapped everything to go back and get JJ. So I think that's why they pushed it back.
Well, they also, if you remember, they pushed back episode 8 too, because episode 8 was supposed to come out in last May.
It was supposed to be. So,
and there were some script issues that they want to go over, which 2 years is fine. You don't need to push it out a year and a half. That would just seem rushed, especially for a multi-$100 movie. Multi-$100 million.
Yeah. We're not talking about the Dark Tower. We're talking about Star Wars, guys.
Multi-$100 million movie. I mean, I would expect it no less than 2 years. I mean, hell, if Michael Bay can give the thought process 2 years between Transformers movies, I'm sure Disney can do it for Star Wars.
I think you're giving him way too much credit.
He's like, there's some knights, and then,
there's a lot of
there were medieval Transformers, and then, that'll work. Let's do that. Start, Get to work.
Yeah. Oh, God.
What do we do? Cavemen already? Okay, let's go to the medieval guys. All right.
That looks like armor. That'll be all right. They'll make the connection. We get it.
But yeah, so as far as your guys' fandom for Star Wars and everything, which I guess I kind of probably could have started by asking you guys how you feel about Star Wars, but how do you feel like going into Solo? Are you because I mean, let's compare it not necessarily against how does it feel to go into The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, but how does it feel compared to how you felt going into Rogue One?
I was really, really optimistic going into Rogue One, and I feel like it paid off because it was an original story, and I understand there's no character that makes it out of Rogue One that you can see further in the canon. So that being said, Solo, it's not fan service. I'm hoping, there are a lot of good forces behind it. Ron Howard is a great director. The cast is great. I'm looking forward to it. But honestly, if you ask me if I want, if we're talking about doing Star Wars stories in between all the different regular Skywalker saga stories, I would like to see something a little more obscure, going into characters that don't exist in the canon already, like Rogue One did. So I was going to Rogue One. I was very optimistic, and Rogue One paid off. I loved it, and the more times I see Rogue One, the more I really appreciate it and I enjoy it. So
yeah, it holds up really well.
It does. I agree.
Yeah, and as a lead into A New Hope, it's really, really top notch.
And that's really cool. And that final especially the final space battle, I mean, that's on par with the first attack on the Death Star. It's really fast paced. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of suspense. I enjoy it.
The ground fighting too was great too. That was the first time you actually got to see a gritty ground fight battle type of. I mean, you kind of got that in Hoth, but I mean, it wasn't nearly as gritty and.
Right.
Wait, you mean the Ewoks?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
I'm just saying, that's pretty gritty.
It would have been better if they were mauling the.
Those rocks are hitting those helmets really hard.
I feel like Solo would have been. I would have been more intrigued if Solo were kind of a TV show, maybe a TV series. Here are the adventures of Han Solo. Maybe not a 2-hour movie, just one off, but because obviously he's a smuggler. He's been around for a while. He's been from one end of the galaxy to another. He's done a lot of stuff. I could see that being a fun, kind of Firefly type of show.
Oh, that would be pretty awesome.
So it's a Star Wars film. Obviously, it's going to get my money, but it's odd that we haven't even seen a teaser trailer for it yet, and we're 6 months out.
Speaking as someone who has experience,
Right? Yeah, and that worries me.
Yeah,
because how long before Dark Tower was it before you finally got footage?
It was the movie itself was released August 4th. I think the first full trailer was like early May. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not and I'm not really familiar with the entire production of
the
Dark Tower. But I feel like from everything I've read, Ron Howard went back and reshot a lot, so
that's what
they
I
might
heard
be behind
too.
the 8 ball right now. And,
I'm sure they are behind the 8 ball.
The trailer's probably not their primary concern because, ultimately, it's a Star Wars
should be because it's not really getting a lot of buzz.
Ultimately, it's a Star Wars movie, so even if it April, you put out a trailer that shows Han Solo running through the Millennium Falcon and Donald Glover is. It's just I feel like people are going to show up regardless. And so a trailer is not their primary focus. Getting the movie done and getting, whatever Disney wants to put out is probably the primary focus.
It'll be profitable, but Rogue One didn't make nearly the money that the Skywalker sagas made. Yeah. And Rogue One was fantastic. The offshoot stories aren't on people's radar like the Skywalker saga is.
But Rogue One did make money. It made profit.
Yeah, of course it profited, and it's going to profit, but The Force Awakens made $2.1 billion.
Of course, because everybody knew that it was going to be Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford.
Right.
Nobody knew that it would be Mark Hamill staring at Daisy Ridley for 30 seconds.
But that's all the more reason to get footage out there to get people excited for the film. And at this point, where it's coming out in 6 months, and we've had like 5 still frames, and that's it, and a cast photo. That's not a lot to get people excited.
Yeah, there was a rumor that Disney is anticipating it to bomb, which I think that rumor itself was debunked.
Well,
pretty soon after it was posted.
That may be true, but there's probably a difference of perspective with bombing. Like their bombing might be okay. It gross $500 million.
Right, exactly.
But that's still profitable.
Still make $1 billion. Just through international markets alone.
I don't know that it'll make $1 billion worldwide.
I bet they will. Because markets like China and everything,
well, The Last Jedi hasn't even scraped $1 billion yet.
Has it not?
No. Today's count was 850 million worldwide.
Wow.
That's it.
It's tanked.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, they've actually it took a 60% drop from
Disney World down next
No,
week.
it's done. It's like Disney World Paris.
We're never even going to see episode 9 at this point.
That's only 15, 16 Dark Towers?
Is that how you're going to start quantifying movies? It's like, how many Dark Towers did it make? That's really what the box office standard is.
Yeah. But I remember, when we saw Rogue One, that, I remember kind of being kind of surprised because when I got to the theater and, I met you guys there, I was like, this is it?
It wasn't sold out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out trying to look for the gross.
Well, I'll be honest, a Han Solo movie isn't exactly what I want to see out of the franchise right now.
No, I'm curious who is asking for that. I love Han Solo. He's an iconic character, and it might surprise the hell out of me. But I
think it will. I think it'll ultimately be a good movie. I think bringing Ron Howard in was a great idea. Now, I've always said this. My dying goal in life is to see a Steven Spielberg Star Wars movie.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And when, there was a brief window when the original directors were fired where there was some speculation. And obviously, Steven Spielberg was working on several projects, including Ready Player One and everything else. So, it probably wouldn't have been convenient for him to come in at that point. But Ron Howard's a really close second. He's a good filmmaker. And the fact that they've gone through and reshot most of the movie, I think means it might be sneaky good, or at least... Yeah. It might bring it back up to the Star Wars standard.
Right, and that's kind of what kind of bugs me about some of the media attention that the movie gets, that Solo's been getting, because I saw a headline that was Ron Howard reshot most of the movie, and it's the phrasing that they use seemed like...
Well, it just sounds like clickbait anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, you just got to be careful what you read, especially on Facebook or Reddit. A lot of that shit's clickbait anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So no
like
one knows what's been shot, what has been shot.
Well, in the actual article, like it went on to say, like I don't remember who they had quoted. I think one of the actors from it saying, like, "Oh yeah, he's amazing. Like he came in and he was just really professional. He knew exactly what he was doing. He had a very clear vision and everything. And that's why they ended up shooting so much. It's just like, is this like our culture now that like we need to have like this clickbait? Like, well, this movie's going to be.
If you'll remember, the same rumors are coming out with Rogue One, which by the way, the gross was 1.05 billion for Rogue One with a $200 million budget. But they did the same thing with Rogue One. They brought it in front of the shareholders at Disney. Disney said it was a little too serious. They went back and they reshot some scenes from Rogue One. So it doesn't worry me that there's reshoots. Yeah. I'm worried that at this point we haven't seen one teensy bit of teaser.
Yeah. Well, the difference is the Han Solo movie was way behind production schedule when they brought Ron Howard in. So
that's true.
You don't know how much content they had because it's like, so from what I've read, they had the script, but then I'm blanking on my phone's not out. I'm blanking on the directors' names. They wanted a whole lot of improv in every scene. They're like, well, how about you try it this way? Say it this way.
Which you don't do that. No, you can't with this kind of film.
If you're making a $200 million movie, you can't have a whole. It's it's not a Judd Apatow flick,
right? Yeah. Exactly. It's not a comedy. Yeah. There are special effects involved, and you can't just improvise a bunch of nonsense.
Because the 1,000 names that are at the end of the credits of every Star Wars movie are waiting for that content every day to add their touch to it. You can't sit there and toy around with the script and be like, it might be funny if you say this, or it might be intriguing if you say this. Disney approved the script. Shoot the script. Right. Like, if you want you make a $50 comedy or $50 million comedy, that's fine. You can do that afterwards. Star Wars, a Star Wars movie would be your business card for that. But you don't dick around with a Star Wars.
Sure. You know what you get when you improv movies like that? You get Han Solo and Greedo shooting at the same time and looking like one just shifted over the other.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you would get.
Well, it's also like this is the very beginning of digital effects. Like I'm sure today we could.
That's not the very beginning of digital effects.
But it was 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but digital effects have been in place since the 70s.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
But I'm saying it's at the very beginning of realistic digital effects. It was 20 years ago.
You tell me Tron's not realistic? I thought it was there.
You're talking about the original Tron?
Yeah, I thought it was there. I was afraid that I had been sucked into a computer game.
You hadn't even been born when Tron came out, but like, okay,
you're right.
Makes sense.
I haven't even seen it, to be honest.
When you saw it on VHS 10 years later.
Never saw it. Never seen Tron. Anyway,
you guys are you Robert are ruining the credibility of the podcast. But anyway, but no, that's a really good point about the improv thing because I mean go back to Jump Street, jackasses. Not that I'm disparaging. It's Phil Lord and Chris Miller, by the way.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, not that I'm disparaging them, but that is a very good point. That there are special effects to be done and rendered and everything. You don't have that openness.
I mean, can you imagine like improving with Jar Jar there?
Yeah.
I mean, it just you can't do it. You have to have certain cues. You have to have certain motion cues.
Absolutely. So, and I'm not trying to disparage them as filmmakers. I'm saying that's a bad decision given the task you've been given.
It's maybe the wrong project for them.
No, exactly. Like I said, and if you make a good Star Wars movie, that's your business card for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
Because anytime you're in the running for anything, you'd be like, hey. Star Wars.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect Quentin Tarantino to be in run for the next like Mamma Mia movie. It's just it's not their project.
That movie.
You know what I might?
No, but what I'm saying is, and you could even have moments where you could play around with dialogue and say, what if you said? But from what I've read, and obviously it comes from cast members, crew members, and it might be embellished. And from what I read, the entire process from the beginning they started shooting, it was always what if they said this or what if you said that?
Yeah.
You can't do that on a giant budget, big special effects movie. Like you're going to fall behind. That's what happened.
Yeah,
and you got to get somebody. So they had no choice but to find somebody that was
Ron Howard's
big budgets. And
he can work a movie like that. And I don't think he's like the greatest director in the world, but he's very
seasoned.
He's very capable. So
I would even go as far as to say milk toast. But
Yes.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Not offensive, but
He delivers.
if there's a good script, if there's even a decent script, he can make it look good.
Yeah.
And he can deliver on time. So like nobody knows what this script says. Nobody knows
Yeah.
what's happening. Obviously, Lando Calrissian's in it. There's going to Chewbacca shows up.
smuggling Mother of Dragons someplace.
Right. Yeah.
Right, we're crossing streams here.
Emilia Clarke's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
As a mystery,
right.
they haven't announced like who the character is. It's
No.
a mystery.
Well, they
character.
haven't. Yeah, they haven't
Yeah.
announced most of the cast,
Right.
Other than like the primaries, like because Paul Bettany's in it too.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
I forgot about that.
Dang.
But given a solid script, Ron Howard can produce a marketable movie.
Yeah.
So that's
Like,
that's
Did
what
you
I'm
guys
hoping
see
for.
Rush? Like he was that was amazing.
But Rush was a fantastic
Yeah.
film.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget that was the thing, but I loved Rush.
Me too.
And watching that, I remember thinking, "Oh, this doesn't even seem like a Ron Howard movie."
Right.
Because it was very dynamic in the way that the film was shot, the racing scenes.
Yeah,
And it wasn't
Yeah.
just a racing movie. It was like
I feel like the racing was kind of the backdrop between the relationship between these two racers.
exactly.
But the racing
he didn't
scenes
skimp on any
were
of it.
amazing. Yeah.
You might say it was quite a rush.
Stop.
Watch it.
Stop it.
Right. Anyway.
And they're
But speaking, kind of moving on a little bit, I was actually going to bring up a couple other things, but I might just skip it. Well, I'll just throw it out there. We talked, I think, Robert, when you were on a recent episode, we talked about the Lord of the Rings Amazon thing. Did we?
The Lord of the Ring Amazon thing.
Yes.
The series?
Amazon, yeah.
No, we didn't talk about it.
No,
but,
okay. Let's talk about it. So,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no. I was just going to say that Amazon has basically gotten procured the rights to the Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth saga, all of the J.R.R. Tolkien canon, I guess you would say. And it was bought for an obscene amount of money that they only spent for the rights. It doesn't include like budget for the actual movie. It's or for the show. It's like $100 million or something like that. And the reason was that what is his name? Jeff Bezos. He wants he wants Amazon to have a Game of Thrones, which elephant in the room pisses me off that it's not like, Dark Tower, could do that, but fuck it. But yeah, so now they're going to make a series based in the Lord of the Rings universe for Amazon Prime. It's not going to be necessarily adapting the novels or the whole series. It's going to be just basically set in Middle Earth.
I know Ian McKellen wants to come back.
I saw that, and that's pretty interesting. So, what do you guys think of that?
So
idea?
I saw the initial press release. I didn't realize they're not just going to go back and reinterpret the books. They just want to make a TV show.
Yeah,
I
think it's supposed to be set completely before Fellowship of the Ring.
There's so much original content.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to embellish upon that.
Yeah.
Like, if you want, because very much so, the Lord of the Rings saga lends itself to an episodic TV series. Like, because you could literally make 3 TV seasons of those books or movies.
And fit so much more into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't feel like you need to go and generate new content for that.
I don't care.
No.
I agree. I agree one way or the other because I don't have a huge emotional attachment to the movies. Like, the movies they're a chore.
Oh no, I still find them to be incredible movies, but The Hobbit soured Tolkien for me.
Yeah,
and that's why I have zero interest in this.
Tolkien didn't do that.
No, I know.
Peter Jackson did that.
I understand that, but studios getting their hands on the rights for these things, I could just see them be like, well, if they took a children's book and made 10 hours of content, we can by golly.
And I agree because like I don't want Amazon and Jeff Bezos to Game of Thrones the Tolkien books. You don't have to have boobs out in every scene for the Tolkien. There are no sex scenes.
I would hope that they don't match the tone. Like I don't want to see Bilbo fucking a bunch of prostitutes.
If he's specifically referencing Lord of the Rings,
right? You kind of get the feeling.
All he wants is violence and boobs, and you don't need that. Like,
and it's not even a part of the universe.
No, it's not. If you want to make an episodic, more in-depth version of those books, I'm all for it because there's a lot of things that the Peter Jackson movies left out that I enjoyed, and I would like to see in a TV version form. And I think there are a lot of other people that would like to see.
Man,
that.
I really think that he really did the best trimming job you could do with those movies.
If you want to make
the
them
content.
movies, but if you want to make it an episodic TV show, you could really get.
You could.
I don't need to see Game of Thrones as told by J.R.R. Tolkien. Like number one, if I want to watch Game of Thrones, I'll just watch Game of Thrones.
Right.
And if I want to see boobs, I'll watch Westworld. Like, there's
or porn,
or porn, or the fact I'll get on the internet, I'll get on X videos, and like there are the boobs. Like, there's no need for an adult version. Like, I like the idea of an episodic televised version of the Lord of the Rings saga. I don't need a TV show set in that world that doesn't follow that storyline.
Right. And to give him the benefit of the doubt, to give Jeff Bezos the benefit of the doubt, I don't think necessarily that he was saying that he would Game of Thrones Lord of the Rings. I think it was more just like he wants something that's a huge hit.
Yeah,
He just wants to make money.
But to reference Game of Thrones really makes you think that he wants
They're both fantasies.
Medieval, but Game of Thrones is when you talk Game of Thrones, it's got a really distinct like people automatically think gore, violence, and tits.
That's apples and oranges. Like, it really is. Like, to say when he's talking about purchasing the Tolkien franchise and saying I would like my own Game of Thrones, especially if he's not going to like follow the canon of Lord of the Rings, I immediately think it's gonna be tits and violence.
Yeah.
And that's not the theme. That's not the tone. That story.
Right. And we have that. We have Game of Thrones.
We do. Yeah. So. Like, Game of Thrones is great. You can go back and watch it anytime you want, and it's good as Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. Also, I'm not too familiar with like the source material or anything. I know that there's a lot of stuff in the Silmarillion that has a lot of backstory and everything.
I've not read a single page of the Silmarillion.
From what I've heard, it's just like
you're gonna have to get Stephen Colbert on the show for that one, man. Because
but I'm also like wondering, like, I mean, there's a lot of lore and everything to it, but I mean, is there enough dramatic content to like?
Well, it's one of the. I'm sure. Was there enough content in The Hobbit to make 3-hour movies? No, but they will make it. They'll make a love interest between a dwarf and an elf for no goddamn reason.
I don't think the Silmarillion is more. I don't think it's. I don't think it's like
an index.
Like these guys are these guys. These guys are these guys. You know, they fought this time. And
it's more of a history book than it is a narrative.
Which I guess would give you a base to like start writing your own content. But like, it's incredibly arrogant to think that you're just going to start writing JR.
And
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't think I actually put it together like what kind of could have bothered me about it until you just said that, because it is kind of arrogant. Like, okay, well, I'm just going to take Lord of the Rings and then we'll be our own Tolkien with the material.
Yeah,
it's not like TV producers have never been arrogant with their
We're going to take these races and everything. We're going to throw in some tits and we'll have some violence.
And it'll be half-assed. So Peter Jackson went in there and he created more language for Elfish. He created. He like took the people. Elvin? Sorry, whatever. he like took the actors aside and said that these are your motivations. I'm going to give you extra backstory for this. They're not going to do that for this. They're going to look.
They're going to like stabby, boob, boob, stabby.
So it's.
I'm on board.
No, but here's the thing.
No, I'm kidding.
If you created an original series that was stabby, boob, stabby, I'd be on board. But don't try to like fold Tolkien into it just because you know that there's already an established fan base for J.R.R. Tolkien. Like
they'll do it. It'll be forgettable, and then they'll move on.
Yeah, and then someone will buy the Dark Tower. But talking kind of briefly about The Hobbit and kind of tying it back to Solo, it's interesting because The Hobbit was like all three movies were kind of a disaster because Peter Jackson,
god awful.
Guillermo del Toro was supposed to make them. He did all this prep work, and then they brought in.
I would have much rather have Guillermo del Toro didn't take him.
Just for the visuals, I would have rather have seen a Guillermo del Toro Hobbit. I would rather just seen one movie. Just make one movie.
Yeah, that's all it needed.
It's a 200-page book.
Right.
You don't need to have all these warring races and all that stuff. Just make the movie that the book portrays, and like I feel like Del Toro would have done a great job with that because I love his I love his aesthetics.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
Me too.
So that's something I would have liked to have seen.
And I love Peter Jackson as a director, but I would have liked to have seen another director's take on Middle Earth.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I like Peter Jackson's small movies more than I like his big movies, and I'd like to see him just go back to making small
Frighteners
movies.
was a fantastic film, and I don't think it gets nearly enough praise.
I don't remember.
I love Frighteners.
I remember seeing. Is that the one with Michael J. Fox?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
remember seeing that as a
Frighteners,
kid,
great
but I don't
film.
remember much of it.
I enjoy Frighteners.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever. I enjoy it.
Well, yeah, that scene in The Hobbit where Gandalf tells Bilbo how many midichlorians he has. Really,
Oh, really? We're going back to that?
we are. Always. Always.
Every movie we're going to talk about, there's going to be a prequel reference.
Exactly.
It's always going to be
This is the same man that I think in the last 2 podcasts have even stated that he finds the
Yes.
finds the prequels to be a little bit more
in
tolerable.
a post Dark Tower world, the prequels are a lot
So all
easier
of a
to
sudden,
swallow.
you've seen so many. You see at least one movie that's worse than the movies you hate more than anything. Like
Not necessarily. No, I think the.
but you get like somebody
Yeah.
took your favorite source material and
exactly
you know kind of used it as toilet paper.
a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
But hey, Idris Elba was still great casting.
He was. You know
But
what?
yeah.
It is
Yeah,
great casting.
if they would have
Because I would
written a
I would
role
watch.
for him.
I would literally watch him read the phone book.
Oh, me too. Oh yeah.
So.
Shirtless, am I right?
right.
What is that? if they go forward with the TV show, like obviously he should be the gun.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know,
He won't want it.
It was a misstep. He might
Yeah.
want it. Well, they're never going to let him be James Bond, so at least let him.
Right.
be
He doesn't want James. They
I
offered
want
it.
him to be James
They
Bond.
offered him James Bond. He doesn't want.
I
it.
want him to be. James
I want him to be James Bond too, but he didn't. He turned it down.
Let's be fair though. There's no fucking way they're making that TV show. Like, it's not happening. Like, it's
oh,
just
it
not
made
happening.
it made $50. Yeah, we should definitely go forward with.
We
all of
almost
that.
broke even on this movie.
Right.
Let's sink a lot of money
Well,
into.
this Matt Hurt guy bought like 4 DVDs.
He went like every day for a month.
Podcast, they talked about it for months and months.
This is gonna be like the Matt Hurt special edition.
Oh God. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But anyway.
I would like to see what the Matt Hurt special edition would entail.
Oh God, I actually did. Like I said in the review of it when we reviewed it that I want to take the scenes from the movie and cut together like a trailer with just like certain
good
type of
movie.
music and to make
Right.
like to see if there is like something that could have been a good movie.
There is
in
something
it.
there. There is something
Yeah.
because he's a good actor.
Matthew
The source
McConaughey's a
material.
good actor.
I know,
Yeah.
and I agree. And Matthew McConaughey, given the right script, would have been good. Also, the source material is there. They had a different vision than
Right.
most of the people who have ever read the book would have had.
Yeah,
So
not even a different vision. They had multiple people with different visions
know, yeah,
and no sense of communication.
right.
And no pull within the studio system. But having said that, though, I did just today watch Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
That was
And
that was a disappointment.
Oh, yeah?
It was stepping off the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It was a step down.
It was.
really
It was a major step down. in my opinion.
I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I enjoyed it. But
It's long, man.
it is long.
It is long.
It is long. I did
feel like
watch it in between
anymore,
calls.
like when it comes to genre films,
Mm-hmm.
the studios think long equals good. And
Yeah.
it
Apparently, there was like
doesn't always.
a 3 hour and 40-minute
Oh my
cut of that
God,
movie.
Jesus.
Like there was
What?
talk.
Like, what could
yeah.
you do?
Apparently, there was like talk of like splitting it into 2 movies.
Is there
at one
like
point.
a dream sequence for
a bunch of butterflies?
Harry, yeah.
But
like all of a sudden he wakes up out of his coma. And oh my!
You know what though? I liked the premise behind. I liked the American.
Statesman.
The Statesman
very
was
cool.
cool.
No, I dig it, too.
But what you're gonna cast one of the biggest stars right now, and you're gonna put him in a coma for half your movie.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. Like, you know what?
That-
I would have liked to see Channing Tatum.
yeah.
Right.
in the movie.
apparently, he had scheduling conflicts, and I
Well,
don't
then
know why.
don't join the
Yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah, but
It's like
having said that,
I agree. No, I agree. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. But having said that, seeing Pedro Pascal just going bonkers crazy with the revolvers.
There was great scenes. That director can direct. Matthew Vaughn can direct an action scene like nobody else.
It did have faults, but I'm just saying that specific scene made.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Dark Tower because that's what.
Oh God,
that's what it should have been.
There's the connection.
Is that what we're gonna do all night?
No. I was actually bringing that up specifically for that. And I was gonna bring up the Golden Circle for Potpourri.
Okay, we'll talk about it at Potpourri.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it a little more.
But yeah, no, that just made me because the action in the Dark Tower was pretty okay. But seeing that
was it though?
It was
the action. The action accounts for 5 minutes.
That might even be.
You couldn't even see. Generous. You couldn't even see the action in the dark. Anyway,
I know it's so dark.
We've reviewed the Dark Tower.
We have, yes, but
I know, but I wasn't here, so let me get my shovel and start working.
Right. Anyway, we are here to talk about an entry in a giant franchise that has a lot of fan ridicule and everything in the response to it.
Divisive,
very divisive movie. But enough about the Dark Tower. Let's talk about the Last Jedi. I mean, honestly, at this point, we've already done. Me and Tiny did a non-spoiler review. If you're listening to this, you've probably already seen it. So I think we're just going to go right into a spoiler discussion. Yeah. To break us into that, I'm going to play a clip from the trailer, and then when we come back, we will be spoilers on for Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Something inside me has always been there, but now it's awake. And I need help.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now. Let the past die. Kill it.
Now, let's see where to start. So, Robert, you have Star Wars tattoos. Peter, do you have any Star Wars tattoos?
I do not. I'm working on what I like. My goal is to actually have something similar to similar to Robert's.
He's going to copy it frame for frame.
I want mine based around the Rebel Alliance symbol. I want to put that on my forearm.
Oh, nice.
And then add some stuff to it. I really like what Robert's guy did with his. But I want an X-wing and maybe a space scene and something a little more.
Oh, that looked pretty cool.
70s van type thing.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm going for when I do it. So,
nice.
Star Wars tattoo in the works.
Nice. And what is your history with Star Wars?
I remember. I can remember watching A New Hope. Probably when I was 4 or 5 years old. Nice. On VHS. Back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
And I know, and I don't have a whole lot of memories as a kid of Empire Strikes Back because I think at the time that was kind of my least favorite because it's an adult movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I remember loving Return of the Jedi, and I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater because at this point I was 5 years old or whatever.
Okay.
And that was, I loved it because, it's, teddy bears beating up stormtroopers for an hour.
Good. Still a good movie.
It's still, of course, it's still a good movie. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying that, of the original trilogy and seeing it before all the digital and all that stuff, or, all the remakes and all that. That one stands out most in my mind. I remember seeing that in the theater. I remember having, nightmares about Jabba's palace guards. So, and that's really where my love of Star Wars took hold. Is I remember our mom used to clean houses for a very prominent family in the city that owns a basketball team. And they had Star Wars New Hope on VHS. And so I was 4 years old, 5 years old. And every time she'd go over there and clean that house, she'd pop in Star Wars. And I remember, I specifically remember the opening scenes of, Vader coming into the blockade runner and stuff. So that's really where my love of Star Wars begins.
Nice. And so let's go ahead and get your guys' thoughts. Since I've talked ad nauseum about The Last Jedi already, what was your guys' initial reaction to The Last Jedi, and how has it changed in the last couple weeks?
My initial reaction was fantastic. I walked out of that theater loving every second of it. Not to say that it didn't have its problems. There was a couple things that bothered me. I questioned why no one told Poe the plan. I was a little not mad, but I wanted Snoke backstory. But other than that, I loved the portrayal of Luke. I think it humanized Luke Skywalker, and they go out of their way to say that Luke is he's a legend at this point, and to the fans of the original trilogy, it's the same thing. Even to them as it is in the Star Wars galaxy, he's a legend. He's infallible. People don't like to see their legends have faults and stutter step, but I really loved the very down-to-earth human Luke Skywalker. I loved everyone's progression in the story as characters. Rey was fantastic, and Finn. John Boyega is fantastic. I really can't wait to see him in more stuff. I'm even more excited. I'm excited to see him in Pacific Rim. Because I love the first one.
I should probably revisit the first
You're
one.
not going to like it.
I'm not, but
so
I'll also say the same thing about Batman v Superman, that I should revisit it.
No, but it was fantastic. The things that I had to fault it for were trivial in my mind. And so, it was great. I understood some of the criticism, but I will argue vehemently against them. So.
Nice. And Peter?
I was a little more conflicted. It's not like I didn't like it, because I did. Because number one, it's a Star Wars movie, and I am, if nothing else, I am a Star Wars fanboy. I am. I always will be. I will argue episode 1 through 8 at this point, to the death. I can find positives in everything. It just. I kind of left the theater thinking, what did I just see? And not in a bad way, but it was a bit of a removal from anything you'd seen in a Star Wars movie before.
Something you had to deconstruct.
Absolutely. And there were some very, there were some themes that existed there that are, exist throughout the Star Wars movies, but, and not to be cliched, but Rian Johnson kind of turned it on its head a little bit. I mean, there was just some things, this interplay between Rey and Kylo Ren, that was something you hadn't seen before. Obviously there was confliction with the light and the dark side with Kylo Ren, and they brought that to the forefront.
And Rey too.
And you have a protagonist that all of a sudden she doesn't understand the Force, and she's kind of dealing with which path she wants to follow, or which path she even thinks is actually the light or the dark. Upon my second and third and kind of fourth viewing, I've really come to love the movie.
Nice.
It's definitely in my top 3. It's up there with Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back. Nice. Because it doesn't follow every single trope of every single Star Wars movie. I really like the path that Luke Skywalker took, because I've never thought and I get it, watching the movies as kids, because he's the main protagonist, Luke Skywalker kind of comes off as the hero for some people. I've never liked Luke as a character. I think he's incredibly flawed. I've always been more of a Han Solo guy, and that's not just because, I'm hipster cool or anything. I just...
Sure.
Luke never did anything.
As he's wearing his leather jacket right now. Really weird. We're inside, Peter.
Luke never did anything on his own. Han saved him on the first Death Star assault. He got his butt whooped, on Bespin. And, ultimately his dad saved him fighting the Emperor. Luke never did anything on his own. So, to walk away and Luke to decide he's a Jedi Master is kind of arrogant and, kind of fit, but also fitting in the character.
He did redeem his father, though. So it's not that he didn't do anything on his own. He redeemed Vader. He brought
laying
Vader
on
back.
the Force, screaming "Father, help me" is redeeming him, because that's ultimately what.
But he's the one. But he's the one that brought the conflict to the forefront to Vader. So
no, I think that's reaching, because you don't know what's happening in Vader's mind at any point.
No, but if Luke hadn't showed up, do you think Vader would just be like, you know what, fuck this Emperor?
Maybe you don't know because like ultimately like at some point Vader has to figure out that like that the Emperor probably killed his wife. I mean, and that's reaching it like we're getting way out of Last Jedi realm. I'm just saying, Luke Skywalker is not the hero that a lot of
No,
people
I agree with you, but
be.
I disagree that he never accomplished anything. So I think that he brought the conflict to Vader to the forefront and helped turn him back to the dark.
Well, if he did, it's because Yoda told him he had to.
I'm not saying
he didn't want to go.
I know. I'm not defending him. I'm not saying he's not flawed. I'm just saying that he did make an accomplishment.
Okay. I like Last Jedi Luke more than I like.
Oh, I do too.
Luke in any of the three original.
Luke's a bit whiny in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
He is. He's whiny, and then all of a sudden he's arrogant when he shows up at Jabba's palace. Like he hasn't done anything. He's had 8 minutes of Jedi training.
Jedi Master and friend of
the trip to Alderaan, and then a couple weeks on Dagobah, and he thinks he's a Jedi Master. Like so,
he walks into the place like he just bought the rights to the Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. He's like, we're gonna put boobs in this movie. Right. We're gonna put some violence in here.
Leia, get your tits out.
Yeah, gold bikini. Yo, take the top off. Go. So no. This is the best portrayal of Luke Skywalker and probably the most accurate of what would have happened with this character arc of all the movies. And I think a lot of people who I don't want to assert my fandom over anybody else because other people have relationships with Star Wars like based on whatever. But I think a lot of people walked into this movie thinking Luke was going to, from the get-go, hop in the Millennium Falcon and we're going to, fight the First Order and he's going to knock Snoke's head off and that'll be the end of it. So I like where they went with it. I like that. I've had some conversations with people when he takes the lightsaber and tosses it over his shoulder. Like they didn't like it. I loved it. I thought it was great. He doesn't want it. He's right. He even says to Rey, like, do you think I came to the most unfindable place in the galaxy because I want to be part of this? No, I want to come here and die alone and leave me alone. They
filmed like 10 versions of that scene.
I did not. What, so were there other versions of like the reaction?
Yeah, because apparently they filmed that scene during the filming of the Force Awakens.
Really?
Right.
So they knew JJ wasn't coming back for these for episode 8, so they filmed like 10 different versions to help lead into whatever path Luke was going to go on in episode 8. Okay. And so that was one of the.
Well, I feel like that's the most logical path.
Well, I agree, and going back to your arrogance with Luke, I feel like what transpires between episode 6 and 7 is very much akin to his arrogance. He even says, I was arrogant enough to think that I could start this school and lead more Jedis, and I fucked
and then
up.
He could take control of Kylo Ren's like darkness.
Yeah, you were never trained as a Jedi.
Yeah.
How can you expect to train other Jedis, especially ones that might that are just as powerful as you are, that are going to have that confliction between the light and the dark.
Right.
Like, so. That's why I like where they took it. Because, like, had he just, grabbed it out of her hand and, ignited
Let's
it.
do this!
Lightning comes down to the lightsaber. Like, I'd have been like, oh, God, really? Like, I like the
Lightning comes down, he looks at the camera and goes, Snoke's in for a shock.
No.
Oh.
Get it because of the lightning?
No, I get it, but no.
Yeah.
That's what it's like to be on the receiving end of
Yeah, right?
Oh.
That's even worse than most of yours.
No, I like it. I like
mine is
because
mine's gold.
Anyway.
Anyway.
That's the most logical. That's the most logical line for his character.
Right, I agree.
He faced a point, and we've already hit spoilers. So
yeah.
He's standing over his nephew. Like even if this for a moment, he's going to kill his nephew.
And I love that.
I did too.
I love it.
I did too.
The fact that he is still susceptible to the dark side speaks volumes for the Jedi Order in general.
We can get into that too, but it's the fact that he was never trained as a Jedi.
Right.
He's one of the most powerful Force-sensitive beings in the galaxy. If he's not trained as a Jedi, he's very susceptible to that dark side.
Right.
Of course, he should put the lightsaber down and go somewhere else. And it'd have been better for everybody if maybe the rubble falling on him had just knocked him out to begin with. That's because I like Luke as a character. I don't think he's but I'm just saying the sheer arrogance of thinking you're gonna train this next level of Jedis, and you're gonna take this most powerful Jedi.
He also takes on like 12 students,
right?
Yeah.
Which
Maybe start with one.
Yeah, calm down.
The rule of 2 doesn't have to specifically apply to the Sith.
Right.
Come here, buddy. Let's see if we can get this worked out. And then you and I together, maybe we'll train 4.
Yeah.
Well, even
pyramid scheme.
Plexus International. No, but even Yoda in episode 1's like you can't take on a second apprentice,
right?
And there's reasons for that. There's a lot. You're introducing a person to a very powerful source of energy in the galaxy. You got to keep your eyes on these kids.
No, I agree.
So yeah,
And that's one of the things that I kind of like about Luke's journey also, is that yes, he is this arrogant character, but it doesn't come out of nowhere. Like it's like you guys said, it is seated in like the original trilogy where he's arrogant enough to think that he's a Jedi Master and everything. In this, like, it's even spelled out. Like, it's not like I don't think I really get the kind of complaints about Luke's character, because like when he says that when he's like rejecting the entire notion of like a Jedi Order and how the Force is for everyone, like he even says like, yeah, the Jedi Order is what brought Darth Sidious to the forefront.
Yeah.
Like, maybe let's not do this.
I loved that scene where he's talking about how it was arrogant of the Jedi to say that the light side is for them and nobody else, and Luke's right. Like this, it's not the ownership of the Jedi. It's for everybody.
No, absolutely, because the Jedi ultimately they're a religion.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else, and
right. I feel like he even calls it a religion. I think it was the first time in the entire series where they've done so. Where they?
Well, no, they call it a religion in New Hope.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Tarkin calls it a religion.
No, but you're right. It wasn't Tarkin. It was sorry.
No, it was. He goes, "You were the last of that religion, my friend."
No, it's the I can't remember the general. Your ancient, your devotion. To that
the guy
religion,
that
your devotion to that ancient religion has not given you the clairvoyance.
But Tarkin also refers to his religion.
Pardon me, sir.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Anyway,
You're all that remains of that religion.
where he's talking about the
anyway, but
the beachfront property.
Yeah.
So, no, I do like the idea that Luke realizes that it was a religion, and they tried to claim ownership over something that literally exists between every single human being. And there's the light side and the dark side, but the Jedi don't, they don't deserve claim over the light side exclusively. Right. So, I get where he's coming from. I'm not sure that that's enough to decide that the Jedi are ready to end. Like, you can always shift.
But I see his progression of thought, though, too. He just failed miserably, and then he shut himself off from the Force entirely. He finds the ancient Jedi texts. He knows the history of the Jedi, and he's just like, it's not worth it.
So I'm curious if a Force sensitive that wasn't Rey, that didn't have his lightsaber, showed up and said, I've been studying the Jedi, and I want to continue. We clearly need the Jedi in these times. What Luke's reaction would have been?
I'm sure it'd been the same.
Well, I mean, he eventually kind of caved to Rey. Like, do you think that maybe he would have just he was ready to kill Kylo Ren. Like
he caved to Rey.
Did he just want the Jedi to die? So
I think he caved to Rey out of intrigue, because he's just like, who are you? Like,
what do you think?
Yeah. So
Rey from nowhere.
I still feel like he had no intention of resurrecting the Jedi. Like his lessons were derogatory of the Jedi. Like he's telling her, like, this is why the Jedi failed. This is why this is a bad idea. And he's like, I'll give you 3 lessons. And his intention was, these 3 lessons are going to tell you why the Jedi shouldn't come back.
But and that's the whole thing where he's sitting there with Yoda saying, all your mind's always on the horizon. Like, if you know why the Jedi failed, but their presence might still be needed in the galaxy, instead of just deciding, like, I'm going to sit here and guard the temple and the text and make sure nobody else gets to touch him. Build on the mistakes. Figure it out.
Well, that's what Yoda tells him, though. That's Yoda's.
I know, but maybe he could have come to that a little sooner.
Well, you got to have that scene, though. I love that scene.
I loved the Yoda scenes.
Yeah.
Number one, I loved the fact that it was a physical puppet. Number two, I loved the the kind of wily, cantankerous old Yoda.
Right.
Yoda as
Him
opposed to-
kicking his feet.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you really think that's important?
Right.
Tree's on fire. Oh, you're gonna light it on fire? Here, I'll do it for you.
Page
Like,
turners, they were not.
Yeah, no, that was great. It was great. That entire scene was great. I
Yeah.
loved it. Like I really did. I was really. It was really cool to see him show back up.
Absolutely. And if they don't have Luke come back as a Force
Oh,
Ghost,
they
I will-
have
yeah.
to.
He's going to. 'Cause
Yeah.
He said he wants to.
No, I thought I read that he'd signed on for 3, but I might be wrong.
I don't know if they have or not.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know if they would announce that even.
I
if
feel
they
like
did.
that'd be a major spoiler if they did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But-
Not so much. Like you know, because if
But-
Leia had signed off, or I mean, if Carrie Fisher
Right.
had
Yeah.
signed off for
Yeah.
3, like.
But
Also, by the way, it was a year today. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Force be
R.I.P.
with you, Carrie Fisher.
She has become one with the Force.
But the and Luke even says like I'll be with you just like your dad.
I love
like
that.
Yeah.
that was great and yeah that whole final thing. But to kind of reel it back a little bit, what did you guys think of the infusion of humor in such a unique way to the franchise?
Man,
Like, it seemed-
I loved it.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of times where I just thought, where I was like, yeah. And my number one part was, and it was a Porg part, but I love the Porg. I'm unapologetically a huge fan of the Porgs.
Okay.
But it was during one of the final sequences where Chewie is piloting the Falcon and they make a turn. The Porg goes and smashes against the window. That I could have done.
Yeah,
without.
that's like Garfield 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I could have done without that.
Yeah,
but other than that,
the
It's
Porg imitating him was brilliant.
brilliant.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
It's a dark film. It's still a Star Wars film. You need to have some levity.
No, I
So-
agree. And that's exactly like kind of what my argument has been. Because I walked out of the first time thinking, man, there was a lot of humor in that. But if you go back and watch it, like there were 3 different scenes where Luke Skywalker standing over his nephew, contemplating whether he's
Right.
going to kill
Yeah.
him. There are a lot of dark themes. in
And
that
you
movie.
go from 400 resistance fighters to like 12.
Right.
A lot of people
like,
die.
A lot of people are
Yeah.
dying.
And
Like,
there was a
lot of people
suicide.
Died, yeah, a lot of people died at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
So like there has to be some levity there. So like if you go back and watch it a second time and take that into context and like realize it's going to be there, it actually I think it fits. Like I'm okay with it. Like I like it. And like Robert said with the pork hitting the window, you're like yeah. I mean that's kind of like a DreamWorks type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I could do without that. But like beyond that, like that's not like one of my favorite scenes is when Poe is stalling Huck.
Oh, that's amazing.
And
That
he's
was
doing like
such
this
a
is
great-
great. It's great. And
So
it
great.
doesn't fit within anything Star
Right.
Wars. It's never
But
happened
it
before.
fits with Poe. It
does, yeah,
completely
exactly.
fits with
It fits
Poe's
with his
character.
character. I agree.
So I think it was very appropriate.
And there's a little bit of that with Han talking to the guy and
Oh yeah,
New Hope
in A
when
New
they have
Hope.
the-
Boring
so-
conversation.
Yeah.
anyway.
You know what? It exists. I guess that you can say it
Yeah.
exists in Star
It's
Wars
existed
universe.
the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The droids were the levity in the original trilogy. For better or for worse,
the
Jar
Gungans.
Jar was
Yeah.
levity.
And he
So
was hilarious.
yeah,
So-
it was great. Ahmad Best. Ahmad Best character, am I right?
Oh god.
No, but it's always existed in the universe. The fact of the matter is, people grew up with this franchise from young kids and are now adults and don't recognize the fact that these films were children movies.
Right.
So
Alec Guinness said it while they were filming.
right, he was like, "This is nonsense."
This is great for a
Right.
kids movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So people need to get off the high horse. It doesn't need to be. First of all, no one expects Star Wars to be an Oscar-winning movie unless we're talking about visual effects. It's a great story, and it should still be fun.
It's not my Star Wars.
well, I mean,
but-
the thing is, like, there are adult themes throughout. Last
Absolutely.
Jedi. Like, you just have to put, like,
It's a very dark film.
Exactly. All of a sudden, if you don't put the porgs and all that stuff, then it's freaking Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I mean, not to that extent. Star Wars is.
Oh, here we go, Peter, equating the Holocaust to the Star Wars.
Everybody knows I'm a denier to begin with. So, but no, but like, you know, if you don't put those breaks of levity in, it stops being a popcorn movie, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it starts being a serious war movie. And if you look at it like from the standpoint of a serious war movie, like it starts to break up a little bit. So like, it's better to make it a popcorn cinema type of film.
Like even Rogue One had K2SO.
Absolutely.
And he was brilliant. That's
was
probably
amazing.
been the best interplay of comedic timing in any Star Wars film.
great. He was a
Yeah,
great character.
he was-
I'll agree.
And that's all Alan Tudyk. I mean,
Oh
he's,
yeah.
he's amazing.
But the kind of comparison that I make with the, Stark is too Stark is too harsh a word, but it fits with the metaphor that I'm going to make or the comparison I'm going to make. But like the not necessarily shift in tone, but the different comedic sensibilities that are brought into the Last Jedi, I kind of equate it to the way that Iron Man 3 was had a different level of humor than Iron Man 1 or 2.
I could see that.
Yeah, and I think that's
he was very snarky in Iron Man 3, especially with the kid.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was all like Shane Black. And
that was very Shane Black.
Yeah, that was very much a Shane Black movie.
Yeah.
And someone once overheard them say like it was a Shane Black film dressed as an Iron Man movie. And it's like which I defend Iron Man 3. It's my favorite Iron Man. But so
yeah, me too probably.
But anyway, this is an Iron Man review.
I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like it's not that I didn't like Iron Man 3. It's not my favorite. Like I enjoy it. Like it's a great progression for Tony Stark as a character.
It has its share of problems.
We're not reviewing Iron Man,
right?
So like I'm not going to dive into it. I enjoyed it. It's not like I didn't like it, but it's not my favorite Iron Man.
But the interesting thing about that though is that Iron Man 3 was the first Marvel Studios movie after the Disney acquisition for Marvel,
and it made more money than Avengers did.
Oh, it did.
It did.
Oh, damn! But
it made over $1 billion as well.
Nice. But yeah, the comparison. I had something there. Ah, crap, I forgot. But anyway, that's the kind of comparison I made. Oh, that's where I was going. So yeah, like Iron Man 3 was a Shane Black movie, and then like this felt like a Rian Johnson movie, and that's something that shocked me because and I think I said in my review with Tiny that it's ever since they announced it, I just assumed that it was going to be like, okay, they're going to make these movies. They've got all these like interesting choices for directors. They keep firing them, but but they
Only
have
half
these
of them
interesting.
made it through so far.
Yeah, but like you have Gareth Edwards, who did he did Godzilla, right?
Yeah, he did Godzilla. Gareth Edwards, did he do Cloverfield?
No. But then you have like J.J. Abrams, and then Rian Johnson, who did freaking Looper, is a great movie.
Yeah, I love Looper.
And
but he's got sci-fi background though.
Yeah,
so it's.
But I just assumed that it was just going to be like, okay, Disney is going to tell you what to do, and then you're not going to have any creative control.
Right.
That's very much the Marvel standard of things.
Well, that's the Marvel standard of things.
No, I know.
too.
Well, Marvel is Disney. Like,
But the Marvel universe is kind of Kevin Feige's baby, though, too. So there's no Kathleen Kennedy would, I guess, be the Kevin Feige of the Star Wars universe.
I think so, yeah.
But I feel like she's a lot more forgiving when it comes to deviation from what their
tell that to Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Yeah. Well,
there
are exceptions.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's interesting that they have their own. Like I assumed that they had the whole trilogy mapped out, and that Rian Johnson had to follow that.
They even said after Force Awakens that nothing was mapped out. Like and I like the idea of giving each director, like obviously, like it's kind of coming back full circle since JJ is going to do Episode 9, but I like giving at least some leeway to directors to giving them their own voice in these movies because I am a huge Rian Johnson fan. I saw Brick and Brick blew my mind. I love Brick.
I've not seen Brick.
I'm a huge Brick fan. Like I remember I think I read about it online somewhere, and it was kind of like this teenage crime noir thing. Like I was like, I have to see it, and the minute I see it I love it. And Brothers Bloom is
good.
I've still never seen it.
No, Brothers Bloom is really good.
It's so good. I would recommend you go home and watch it right now.
The play between Adrian Brody and Mark Ruffalo is fantastic.
Mark Ruffalo's character in that movie, that entire movie, the way they set it up, it's just a great movie. And that's kind of like where I became a fan. Brick put it on the map.
Right.
And then I saw Brothers Bloom. And then, Looper was just,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I like the idea of giving these directors at least a little bit of voice and a little bit of leeway.
Now, how do you feel about them going back to J.J. Abrams for the ninth one?
I'm fine with that because I feel like J.J. Abrams got a lot of flack for kind of making New Hope Part 2. But it reestablishes the universe. It draws people back in that may have been a little bit jaded from the prequels, and it sets the tone. So not to make a sports reference, but he kind of sets it up for the next volley for, like in volleyball, when you set it up for the next hit. And Rian Johnson took.
Did you really just make a volleyball reference?
Well, they did preview. They did preview. They did preview a volleyball movie before Star Wars.
So that's a real sport.
I know.
So I think J.J. Abrams will take the ball back, and I think he'll do just as good a job. I think that these characters have now been established, these storylines will be established, and I think J.J. will finish it just fine.
Here's why I like it. J.J. created this kind of an extension of the universe. He brought in characters like Snoke and Kylo Ren, and and Rey, and gave them these kind of like cloudy backstories, and I think a lot of the pushback against The Last Jedi is everybody went in expecting you're going to find out who Rey's parents are, you're going to find out who Snoke is, you're going to find out what the relation with Kylo Ren is.
People wanted vindication for their theories.
Yes.
Exactly. They wanted immediate gratification. Rian Johnson came in and said, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to worry about these characters, and we're going to extend this story.
He trolled the entire.
He really did. And
to the point where he killed Snoke.
Rey's parentage. That was beautiful. That was perfect.
I loved it.
Hold on, we'll get to that. I want to finish my thought.
Okay.
I think bringing JJ back in is going to ultimately answer most of those questions.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Why?
I'm concerned about that too.
I like it.
I don't
mind taking just like a little
Rey's,
bit of a diversion. Movie 2, we're going to worry about these characters, and we're going to throw a little subterfuge your way. I don't mind ultimately paying it off.
If Rey's parents, the story ends up being a red herring to a real mystery solved, I'll be upset.
She's such a Mary Jane in The Force Awakens. Mary Sue, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And
Pierce High.
Yes, whatever. She's such a Mary Sue in Force Awakens. There is no way that there isn't some type of lineage there.
Why does there have to be? Why does there have to be?
That's the way the Force. That's the way the Force works.
No one's ever said that it is the Force.
Midichlorians exist,
but they've no one's ever established that the Force is genetic or it's hereditary. In fact, there's a line going on in the comic books right now where the Jedi Council has a list of Force-sensitive kids throughout the entire galaxy. Okay. So
it's interesting because that reminds me of. It wasn't Civil
Schindler's
War.
List.
No, Jesus. It reminds me of Winter Soldier, where they're like, we have a list of all the
kill
enhanced people.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's just like Luke said. The Force doesn't belong to any certain people. So that's why it's so.
There are Force sensitive people, but like if there weren't Force sensitive people, everybody'd be a Jedi.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a lineage. It doesn't have to be hereditary. It's
been hereditary through the entire movie.
No, because we've only followed one family, a Skywalker family. That's it. Now we have this kid working in the pens of a casino who is Force sensitive. I like the idea that she's come from nothing to become a powerful.
And it's said like the kind of thing that Snoke was getting at was that she was the reason why she was. She's Kylo's counter to his like Force.
Yeah, he expected Luke to be the counterbalance.
Why would she specifically be Kylo's counterbalance?
My thinking is that it's just completely random because and like when you said like that's never how it's been in the movies, like my counter to that is up until now because like the entire point.
No, you're right. He did.
And here's the thing. Snoke knows that there's a connection between the two just from Kylo's feelings from Rey in the first one. So he's going to manipulate that because that's what the Sith do.
No, I agree, but Snoke's not a Sith. Okay, but here's the thing.
Well, that's what the assholes of the Force do.
Here's the thing. There's a point where he tells her that her parents are buried in a pauper's grave on Jakku. There's a scene in Force Awakens where Simon Pegg's alien guy is holding her as she's screaming as she's watching a starship leave the planet. So who is she screaming at?
But
no.
She could be her parents. He said that he's
buried in a grave on Jakku. Like if they're pauper, if they're so poor, why are they going to send their dead bodies back to Jakku?
Hold on,
to bury them in a pauper.
He says that she was sold off for drinking money. It's not like she was sold off and they dropped dead the next second. They got
end up back on Jakku. And like
because they're scrappers.
I'm sorry, that's subterfuge. I'm sorry. There's something more. There's something more to her parents.
So are you gonna be mad if she?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not going to be mad at all. I'm absolutely fine with her parents being nobody.
But
I'm saying that I think it's a red herring. That's my theory going into it.
I'm gonna be so mad if it is.
I'm fine either way. Like it's like she doesn't have to not everything. The entire universe doesn't have to revolve around the Skywalkers. I'm fine with that.
And I think that's kind of the point. Like that's because, and I like the cynic in me is wondering like how much of this is like Disney saying like we need to expand this as much as we can.
Yeah, get away from this.
So like. Because like and then that's kind of counter to them like being like, oh, let's make a Han Solo movie. Let's talk about a Boba Fett movie. But like it's just they need to open up the world, and that's the reason why I love this movie is because it opens up the entire.
It'll close it off again if it's like she's a long lost. Okay,
see, I think that's what's going to happen. Like I don't understand.
That's very disappointing.
That scene versus her.
I think that erases. I think that erases all the themes of the Last Jedi.
Would, and I'm not saying I'd agree with it. I'm just saying that given that scene on Force Awakens, like I don't think that.
I feel like
I think that was alive from Snoke. It was Snoke via.
First of all, these aren't people that apparently have made the greatest decisions in the universe to begin with. If they are in fact just scrappers, they got a bunch of money from selling their kid. They go off to do something stupid, and they're back on Jakku scrapping again. And like fuck it, we don't have our kid, and then they end up just dying.
They're the Star Wars equivalent of like meth heads.
They are, but like I just don't see why they'd end up on Jakku because there's no money on Jakku.
Because that's where poor people go.
As Finn pointed out in The Force Awakens, everyone wants to go back. To Jakku. So,
why does everybody want to go back to Jakku?
But no, I mean, who knows? Like maybe they have family there, family that they didn't want to sell. But like,
and I might be wrong. I'm just saying.
And when you blow your money, where do you go? To the only place they know where to make money again. To scrapping on Jakku.
I was going to say Canto Bight. But I don't, and I might be wrong. That scene from when we saw that scene stuck out for me in Force Awakens, where she's watching somebody leave the plane.
Yeah, I feel like she's watching her parents leave. Her parents just sold her.
Why would they end up? Okay, like we're going around in circles,
right?
And I see what you're saying.
But that's one of my issues, though, or not one of my issues, but one of my concerns is that J.J. Abrams is going to take his fandom and retcon the stuff that's been done, like make her something. I think it's a very good possibility.
I think that would do a disservice to the Last Jedi.
But having said that, one of the things that bugs me about this whole endeavor of them like giving directors as much freedom as they presumably have is that we have I'm not opposed to us not getting the backstory of like Snoke and get answers or anything like that. So that's perfectly fine. I followed Lost for 6 years. I'm good with that. So. But my problem is that we have like different visions of the backstory. Like we have in The Force Awakens, it's like hinted at like, oh, the Knights of Ren tore down the Jedi Academy and everything. And then here in this movie, like there's nothing.
Knights of what?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's just that it's shown that's like, oh, he just, Ben thought that he was going to kill him. So he tore down the whole place and took his pupils.
Well, to be fair, I feel we don't know exactly. We know that there was an incident where Kylo and Luke are in the hut, and then he defends himself, or what he thinks that he's defending himself against Luke, and he smashes the. Then he might have left. Then he comes back, and they even said that he takes students with him from the Jedi school. So maybe he comes back with like 6 students that he took with him to destroy the rest of the school. Yeah. I mean, there's backstory that we don't have.
A standalone movie that would be pretty cool.
That would be. I'd like to see that.
But I mean, that's just conjecture, though.
Yeah, and I enjoy actually reading the EU and.
Are you talking about like the?
I'm talking about like the
new canon, the European Union,
the European Union.
Hashtag Brexit.
Now that Great Britain's about to leave.
Jesus.
No, and they even address that. There are 3 books that happen between essentially Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, the Aftermath books.
Aftermath, yeah.
And there are hints about the Knights of Ren that start way before Kylo Ren. So the Knights of Ren existed before Force Awakens. The Knights of Ren existed before. And now this is a little bit of conjecture because they haven't made the connection yet. I'm pretty sure the Knights of Ren existed before Kylo Ren. Like, he might have become their leader, but like in the third Aftermath book, the Knights of Ren, basically they were kind of half Darth Vader worshippers. They weren't all Force sensitive. And then one of them was Force sensitive and came across a lightsaber, and he became the leader. And that's not Kylo Ren, obviously. But so the Knights of Ren exist before Force Awakens and before, and I think before even Kylo Ren comes around. So they could either seek him out or he seeks them out. There's a lot of play there, and I don't know how they're gonna connect all of that.
I do want backstory. Like, I'm better with Snoke's lack of backstory in the film. I loved how he went out, but now I do want a book. Like, I do want to know where Snoke came from.
Oh yeah, I want to know because
so he's super intriguing to me.
Right. So because and spoiler alerts for anybody that hasn't read the books, and if you don't want to talk about it, I won't. I'll leave it alone.
Okay,
yeah.
Because it's on my list for better or worse.
Dive
into.
Regardless, Snoke isn't explained in Aftermath. Like, there are no even beginnings of Snoke. So, he's a complete, independent entity at this point. Like, nobody knows where he came from, what his story is, and all that.
And that's,
stuff, so.
I mean, they get Andy Serkis for him. Like, you would think he would be a bigger deal.
He can always come back. Like, he can come back in flashbacks, or he might be a Force ghost. Just because the Jedi don't own Force ghosts.
I was gonna say a Sith ghost could be pretty freaking.
It
pretty
could,
great,
especially if he's annoyed with the path that Kylo Ren's taken, because Kylo Ren kind of screwed the pooch by the end of I'm going to take on Luke Skywalker, not even realizing that it's a projection. Right, exactly. So he could be as much of as a Jedi Force ghost is like a positive, hey, come here, do this, I'm going to push you in this direction. The Sith ghost can be like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing this? You should just, you should kill yourself. Like, the Sith ghost could be the opposite, like just kind of like being a whole negative.
And I think that would be a brilliant play.
I would love it. Like, especially if it was like Luke pushing Rey and Snoke pushing Kylo Ren. Like, until like ultimately they're going to meet in Act 3 of Episode 9. Like,
then Snoke and Luke are making side bets, so who's going to win the Jedi duel?
Throwing credits back and forth.
Yeah. Some stupid criticisms I've read over the internet are silly shit like, I don't like this whole running out of fuel thing. So what? These ships run on fuel now?
Yeah.
What the fuck do you think ships run on?
Right?
It's magic juice, and they don't run out of fuel.
The first time you see the Millennium Falcon in New Hope, it's in a docking bay.
It's fueling up,
ready to go. Like, obviously they run on fuel. Like, I don't understand where this concept of the fact that starships.
They've never talked about fuel. Oh, we're sorry that George Lucas never made a 20-minute scene talking about space fuel.
Yeah, on the way to Alderaan, they didn't stop off at the gate.
No, they did in Spaceballs. I knew we should have put more than $5 in.
He just wanted, $100 for lunch gas.
There's tolls. Yeah.
Like, obviously it runs on fuel, and it's a great mechanism to set up that story.
And then it's like, well, how come the shields can block it for so long? Because it's in a distance. Energy dissipates.
Right. And if you're talking about moving in like speeds that are sublight speed or whatever, like, the ships are gigantic.
Right.
They are, miles and miles apart. Like, energy dissipates.
Turns out, if you shot a 9mm pistol at me a football field away and it landed on my foot, it wouldn't hurt.
I've tried several times.
So that's people just are.
It's nitpicking.
It really is.
It's so nitpicking.
And I think like I said, I think it's a great mechanism to like. Because, like, obviously, the primary story of all of this is Luke and Rey, Kylo Ren, and Snoke. But you have these characters that you introduced in The Last Jedi, or I'm sorry, The Force Awakens, that you have to give them something to do.
Right.
If not, they're all just sitting on a spaceship while Rey and Luke are, moving their story forward. So
and I found the casino scene a lot more forgivable the second time around. I thought it was enjoyable. First of all, I love the world, and maybe it's because I'm a Vegas nut.
I was gonna say you just like Vegas.
I do, yeah. But the BB-8 stuff, you could hear the change rattle when he's going down the steps. I thought it was fun. Whatever. I know I'm a minority.
It was a fun distraction. I like the world. I just felt like my biggest complaint about that was that Finn, it didn't do much for me in terms of Finn's storyline. Like, it was a side quest for Finn.
Yeah.
He didn't have as much
that's the
growth.
thing, because there's this whole this idea, or it's not even an idea, like it's fact. Like, so if Indiana Jones had never gotten involved with the Ark of the Covenant, the movie would have ended the same.
Yeah.
It would just,
everyone would have
everybody
died.
All the Nazis died. The only thing that's different is, like, the Ark ended up in Columbus, Ohio at Wright Pat, or not Columbus, Dayton, Ohio at Wright Pat Air Force Base. The same can be said about Finn's journey, because, ultimately they still end up on the Salt Planet. And, he doesn't, the only effect he has is he brings the First Order down to the planet. Yeah. If they hadn't gone there and picked up Antonio Banderas, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on
Benicio del Toro?
Benicio del Toro.
Or that guy too.
Yeah.
His name is DJ in the movie.
Okay, we're going to go with DJ.
Racist.
Edit that out. Okay, take two. If they didn't go pick up DJ from Kento Bite, like, the First Order wouldn't have ever realized their plan. They'd have just been fine on the Salt Planet until, ultimately nobody showed up anyway. So ultimately, like, that whole thing was basically just to bring about a final battle on.
And that's fine.
It is fine.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's one of those things. Hindsight, the characters don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Poe doesn't know what the plan is, which I found more forgivable the second time because he really is a hothead.
Yeah, that was my thing too.
Okay, but so what's the difference between divulging the plan and saying, "Oh, we're just going to fly straight ahead"?
I think it's more of a front to this commander. Is like, what's this? You're questioning me? No, piss off. Go do your job.
And the more I think about that, I'm put in the perspective that, like, okay, Holdo is going to tell the plan, like the master plan, to this dude that just got every one of their bombers killed.
Okay, and that's okay.
Like, from her perspective, it's like he's been demoted.
I get
it. But like this is war. That, like he said, that dreadnought is a fleet killer. They had an opportunity to take it out. People don't survive war. It stinks.
But I see both perspectives.
Leia's uptight, like, or her obsession with the fact, like, you're going to lose soldiers in war.
But you only got 400 too, and you're facing a giant military conglomerate.
Okay, but you have an opportunity to take out the ship that will take out all 400 of you.
I get it.
There are two ways of looking at it.
I think you can look at it from both ways from each character. So I get each side of that.
But I think the kind of bottom line is that she is this military-minded person. She's several ranks above him, and he disobeyed a direct order from Leia. And
I get that.
I find I find it much more forgivable.
Yeah. But as far as the Canto Bight stuff, like, it did. It can be excised, and it doesn't affect it brought the First Order to the Salt Planet, but it's also I felt like the most important thing about the Canto Bight thing was giving the background to, like, the galaxy and where the money's coming from for both sides. Like,
I love that little tidbit.
I love that. I really like how that just sheds more light on the galaxy and the whole universe of Star Wars, because that's one of my biggest complaints, is that I just couldn't get into it because it seems so self-contained, which is another reason why I love this movie, is it opens it up so much. But that was at the expense of not giving Finn that much of a character arc, which, like, this new trilogy is like, it's after The Force Awakens, you're like, okay, well, you've got your Luke, Han, and Leia. You've got Rey, Finn, and Poe. And, like, the first movie, Poe didn't have much to do, but this one he has a lot to do, but Finn doesn't have a lot to do. So his next movie going to be Poe and Finn character development, and Rey's just like, I'm just going to kill Kylo at some point.
Well, they introduce so many characters. You got to give everybody something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like, And and like Finn had a huge arc the first. I'm not a huge arc, but like
No, I'd say it's pretty.
You think
he's a traitor? Like
he was, and
so,
like,
and
he kind of went back and forth. Like his motivation from day one has always been taking care of Rey.
Yeah.
And so like maybe his arc finishes now that Rose is in the picture, and like there's once Rey was on the ship and fine, like he was over with Rose, and there's that shot with Rey looking at him with Rose. So maybe that's how you complete his arc, and like this was just like an extension of a bit of Force Awakens.
Sure.
Maybe.
Did you guys read into Rey looking at him and Rose as something like a romantic jealousy kind of thing?
I didn't.
Tiny brought that up.
I did.
I did not. The second,
as many like having seen it a couple times now, like there's no other reason to put that shot in there.
I thought. See, I felt it was more of a satisfaction look that he's.
I don't see that because like she actually has to be distracted, like because she's like intently watching them, and somebody has to come over and talk to her.
Yeah, maybe
to break her out of it. So that's why I think it's more of she. I don't know, and like you don't have to assign a romantic arc to it.
No, right?
But I think it's there, and I think it might play out a little more. And I'm fine. Like the Finn Rose thing, like I think it's great. Like
I think maybe not love yet. Calm down, Rose.
Right.
We've only had one little adventure together. But I love the line where she says the way we're going to beat them is not by destroying what we hate, but by saving what we
that was
love.
very cool.
I love
like
that line.
I just couldn't. I just didn't feel like the kiss in it was earned, or like the implication of a romantic relationship between them was earned at all.
Yeah.
Nothing, and like the Canto Bite thing, like they're doing a lot. She's teaching him a lot about like what's really going on and everything, but there wasn't enough chemistry romantically throughout the movie.
She's fangirling at him at the beginning. I think that's where that kiss comes from. Is she's fangirling at him at the very beginning.
But after that,
you're
though,
Finn from the Resistance.
I still didn't feel like throughout their entire little offshoot adventure, I really didn't see any romantic. Like I just felt like, no, I know
it just could be infatuation. Like,
but but to pay off the at the end when she kisses him as a romantic thing, I don't feel like that was earned.
She could have a crush, like
but
it might not be reciprocated until the fact.
But
that you
she
realize,
literally saves him and says, "We're going to win by saving what we love."
okay, that's fine. Like like
and it may not pay off through relationship, but I thought that it was.
There are different types of love. There's infatuation.
I agree.
And she could have done that just for infatuation's sake, or just the fact that you shouldn't have to kill yourself to save the resistance and throw yourself at things. So
Neville has some very strong.
Yeah, he was like, I love Rose.
Why are you?
Did you guys see where AMC had to go and post things at the front of the theater about the suicide hit?
Oh yeah, about the
what?
the audio.
It wasn't anything about warning them that she's about to kill herself, but take out. Apparently, people were worried because when she goes into light speed, it does that really cool audio shut, and I love the effect.
Me too.
But people
Me too.
thought that there was something wrong with the audio, and were like leaving the theater and go get managers. So AMC was like putting up signs like, "Hey, look, it's not an audio thing; it's just part of the movie."
Maybe
which I thought it amplified.
How do you word that? Like, be like, hey, at the very end of the movie, when one of the major officers in the Resistance sacrifices himself, like the sound's okay. Don't worry about it.
Don't come rushing up here.
Yeah.
I think
sit and watch the movie.
Yeah, I think it was worded like there's a moment in the movie where the sound goes out. It's intentional from the filmmakers, and it only lasts for a second. But like, I kind of wish it would have been like,
Well, it reminded me when I went to go see Watchmen
exactly, it doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
It's like 30 seconds at the most. Not even 30 seconds.
You can't even get up from your seat to leave the theater to complain about it without the sound coming back on.
Right.
Unless he's just got up and like sprinted. I gotta talk to somebody about this.
Like, moron, you're in a vacuum. There's no sound.
Yeah.
It's still in space.
To be fair, it's established canon that explosions make sound in space in the Star Wars universe. I'm just saying.
I don't know. That's established canon.
Oh, we hear it
In movies. It only happens in movies. I don't know that you'd call it established.
That's
But does it depend on how many midichlorians you have?
Right, yeah. If you launch 2 torpedoes and your midichlorian count is really high, those torpedoes make a lot of noise.
That's because midichlorians midichlorian fills the vacuum, it gives things for sound waves to bounce off of.
Right.
That's fact.
Exactly.
That's
Like-
science. Neil deGrasse
Luke
Tyson
said-
talked about it.
Like Luke said, it fills the space between things.
It's
The
a-
more
space.
midichlorians,
Yeah.
the more space.
What's more space than space? I mean,
Right,
it's
exactly.
full of midichlorians.
And if you were, and also Vader was there too. So like there were midichlorians everywhere.
Turns out midichlorians is just radiation poisoning from distant stars.
All right. So the Canto Bight stuff, all that. What did you guys think of? Let's see, where can we go next with this?
Well, you almost have to just go straight down to the battle.
Yeah. Which
We
one?
skipped the whole like
Salt Hot.
killing Snoke.
Oh,
the
yeah.
back and forth between Rey's trying to. I mean, we don't. I mean, your podcast.
No.
like,
Let's go back to Rey because like you mentioned that she was a Mary Sue in the first movie, which is a very common complaint against the first movie. Which I can kind of see that. I mean, kind of the term Mary Sue gets politicized or whatever.
I think that's sexist, and I'm about to throw those.
And let me preface that by I don't have a problem with her in the first
Right.
movie. I think that she knows how to fix the Falcon from the fact that she has been taking a Star Destroyer apart for the last
Why was
year.
that ever a thing? Her job is a scrapper. She knows how
boss-
things work.
Her boss owns the Falcon. I'm sure she's taken it up a couple times.
Yeah.
If not that one, a couple,
She knows it's a piece of
knows
junk.
it's garbage. Yeah.
So like I was going with that argument just because that's what's been
Gotcha.
mentioned.
I had no idea that was even an issue until like a
And
couple of weeks ago.
And I think
it was
that,
said quite a lot when
and
Force
I
Awakens
think that the
came
Force
out.
can motivate you. So
Yeah.
like when
Guide you. It even says seriously.
okay, I thought you're mocking me.
No, they talk about how the Force guides you. So,
like that's fine when she makes James Bond give up his weapon. And, no, I get it. No, but I agree. Like she's in a position where, and also the Force is trying to probably balance itself because Luke has shut himself off. So the light side is essentially gone. So like,
That's interesting.
yeah,
the Force has
that's
to,
good.
The Force has to awaken in somebody. And
Yeah.
if she's Force sensitive, and she, so I get it. The Force is guiding her. I don't have a problem with any of that.
I
I
never
brought
even
that up
occurred
as
to
a
me to
point
have a
that's-
problem with that.
I brought that as a point that's been mentioned in the
Gotcha.
past. But I don't
But-
think she's a Mary Sue. Like I think you can very much.
She's more of a Curly Sue, with that movie with Jim
I think you
Belushi.
can justify everything that she does in the movie.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I still, to this day, think that it would just be so amazing if, and this is setting it like I'll be disappointed if in the third movie this isn't the case. But we've set up that she is, she's going to pursue the Jedi training and everything. She's proficient with the staff. Do the double-sided lightsaber again.
I'd be
that
all
would
right
be
with it. I'd be all right
that'd
with
be
it.
great.
so
She could
cool.
figure out a way to build it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
she's gotta-
she's got to build her own
She's got to have a
lightsaber now.
lightsaber. Yeah.
She's
that-
gonna, and I feel like that's probably gonna be a guided thing. Force Ghost guidance.
I feel like that'll be a between movies type
Yeah.
thing.
Well, there's-
I think we're probably Last Jedi picked up right after Force Awakens. I feel like this
there's
is
gonna be a
more-
big time
Yeah, and
jump.
we talked about that after
Yeah.
the movie when
Yeah,
we saw
yeah.
it. But
I'd say at least
Yeah.
10 years. I'd say
I
it's
don't
even
think 10. I think,
Oh,
I
I'd-
think 3 or 4 is
honestly.
sufficient.
I think you'll see it open with Leia's funeral.
But see, that doesn't I get that idea because you obviously have to write your way out of it.
yeah.
But Star Wars doesn't open on beats like that. Star Wars opens with chases and because the rumor was, Last Jedi was going to open with the same shot of Rey and Luke. looking at each other.
There you go.
And then you open with this huge,
Yeah.
awesome action piece.
God, that was so cool.
It was. I watched it this morning. Or I watched it today, and it was great. Like that whole diving in through all the escape ships and stuff. That was really cool.
You know what? Have you heard this other complaint too about
Oh, God,
the?
no.
Oh, okay. So apparently now there's gravity in space with the bombs come down. Okay, idiot. They're propelled down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
All you have to do-
propulsion.
So-
Like literally, like you could have a 2-year-old tapping
Yes,
each
and they
bomb
would
as
go
it
down.
goes, and it would go exactly because there's no friction.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop something once it starts moving.
But I think part of the complaint was that she kicks the ladder and it
But there's artificial gravity in the ships.
Exactly.
That's established.
Exactly. That's like every science fiction.
Otherwise, there would be
movie.
a vacuum. We should be dead.
Okay, but here's the thing: these aren't science fiction movies. Science fiction
Right.
are based on
They are
scientific ideas, like and not so much.
It's
fact,
not hard
but
sci-fi.
Like,
It's
not
sci-fi
hard
fantasy.
science. It's science fantasy. It's a fantasy movie based in space. So like to sit there and like nitpick every single thing that wouldn't happen that way. You know. You're existing in a world that like these ships like that have wings and stuff. They don't those wings aren't
right.
They're aesthetic.
Pointless, yeah.
Like and if you
Oh, now come on though, because sometimes those ships are flown in within the atmosphere.
but if you read the books, they fly because of it's a repulsor. So like it's basically something that keeps you like distance between the ship and the ground. Like
so,
there's still
okay.
no aeronautics involved. So
But they
like,
look
sit
cool.
There and complain. Yeah, exactly. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's aesthetics. It's not science fiction. It's science fantasy. And it looks good. Like the X-Wing fighter has been from like when I can remember, like the coolest spaceship for me ever. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. It makes no sense. It has wings in space.
It's like, why is it armed? Because the wings come apart.
Not
and
only
then
does it have wings in space, the wings separate and the functionality changes.
Yeah.
Like you even see at the beginning of Last Jedi. Like
He was like,
they're closed,
right.
and BB-8 punches it, and then like all of a sudden
they're in the ready attack formation.
he's ready. He's ready to shoot the guns. The wings open, and it, like they like it's like they hit the brakes. He's
Right.
Like, whoa! Like okay, I get it. Like it's just, but it's fun. And it's fun,
Right.
and, like it's the universe you've established.
But
it's
if
not
you were-
science fiction. It's science fantasy.
But if you're going to nitpick, like, okay, oh, they have fuel now. They didn't have it before. Oh, there's gravity here. That didn't establish gravity. Like, why not say, like, okay, well, lightsabers are bullshit because there's no way to keep
we've
the
not-
You
from
can't
going.
harness a laser.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So we never even.
or the fact that not only is there a lightsaber, but somebody can close their eyes and choke somebody from
Right.
literally across the galaxy.
That's impossible. Only Jesus can do that.
Like there's that scene where Snoke kind of like Force beats the crap out of Hux. Like they're not even on the same ship.
Right.
Like there's a hologram and he's throwing them around. Like really, you're gonna argue the gravity on the bottom of the ship. Like just suspend belief for a bit and watch the movie because it's enjoyable. It's fun, and that's a great scene. Like
Absolutely.
the first time we watched it, like because we went in fresh, like. My legs bumping up and down, like it's like, oh, are they going to drop the bomb?
Right.
This girl, like, so, like, just enjoy the movie. For
It's
what
like
it is.
people like that apparently just went in to see what they could find wrong. with the film.
They want to be mad about something, or they want to just nitpick.
And
that's fine.
and it's funny because I've said for years, like, oh, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I'm pretty sure that by the time Episode 9 comes out, I'll probably admit, like, yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan. But like each year that we have a movie, I kind of go into like podcasts and I listen to other podcast takes. I don't do that for every movie. But like I have like a standard list of podcasts I listen to all the time, and then I seek out podcast reviews of it just out of curiosity. And like there are some that just like it's kind of infuriating because they're not discussing the movie; they're just nitpicking like the little things like that aren't explained. Like why didn't they explain like the gravity thing or anything like that? It's like, well, because it's a fucking Star Wars movie, guys. Like,
I want a 20-minute dissertation about the gravity functionalities on these ships.
Yeah.
What should have happened was there should have been a flashback from when Rose's sister, before she hit that button, she was in bombardier school. Right. They were discussing why gravity takes effect in the ship and propels the bomb. Even when they reach the zero-G vacuum of space, and and also why the bombs explode because there aren't
there's no air in space. Yeah,
right. So like everything has to be mixing of chemicals and force, as opposed to like actual chemical,
Well, we established that's midichlorians in space.
Right. Yeah, everything. Midichlorians. Those bombs are actually
The giant midichlorians.
it's just the midichlorians escaping really quickly, which causes the explosion.
Absolutely.
And they found their way to everybody on the dreadnought, and unfortunately they perished when they found their symbiont host.
It checks out.
I just solved the entire problem because it wasn't even gravity.
Christ.
It was midichlorians.
The bombs driving the bombs.
It was the
down.
force.
Everything.
So anyway,
So a couple of the things, like when we walked out after thinking about the movie, I realized, and I think we even discussed this having beers later.
I had root beers.
No, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Like several though.
Several.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure you should have driven.
I shouldn't have. No.
So I remember
Talking
no
about
one
your
ever.
diabetes, but anyway.
But they never said the iconic line of "I've got a bad feeling about this." But I've since read that was the first line that BB-8 apparently says to Poe Dameron, which I kind of like.
And
because given the situation,
says I agree with the droids.
Right.
Like, you know, it's
so
fine.
and given the situation, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does.
Also, one of the other people, some of the people were talking about how typically in the second film of these trilogies, a major character loses their hand. No one did. Snoke did. If you'll
Yes.
notice,
Yeah,
when the lightsaber
noticed
goes
that.
to him, his hand is still.
And I
sitting
thought
on the
that was
bench.
weird when I saw it, and I didn't really think about it until I didn't make that
Right?
connection.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
did not. I didn't put that together. I read it on the
Somebody else
interwebs.
saw it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was there a Wilhelm scream?
I don't remember. You know, I've seen
I
it-
think there was, and I think it
there has
was.
to have been.
I think it was when when Kylo is shooting shit up into the bay. I think that there's a Wilhelm scream there,
Okay.
Man, I don't remember.
but I'd have to go back and to double check
Yeah.
because
'Cause that's like the last of the things we just ran.
trifecta.
That's the last.
Yeah.
That's the last every movie thing, right?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
But it's okay if it's not there. Like it's
yeah, no, right.
Yeah.
you
There
know,
was
like,
also
even in
this is the
Rogue
first one
like-
that there was no lightsaber duel.
Right. Traditional
do
lightsaber
what?
duel.
There was no traditional lightsaber duel
Yeah.
because Kylo and Luke
No,
never
you're
even
right. No, you're right.
touched sabers.
No, you're right. And then Kylo and Rey, they were fighting everybody else.
Yeah, they were fighting the
Which
Imperial
that-
Guard.
which is
My
That
favorite
was
scene of
that
the
was
entire
the part
movie.
where she drops the saber and then
Yep.
picks it. That was great.
But the whole thing, seeing them fight back to back and stuff, like, that
Yeah.
was so cool. Like
And I love the turn. Like I almost would have loved it if she would have just joined
that's
the
what
dark
we talked
side.
about right afterwards.
Yeah.
I would have been completely fine with her, deciding, this is the best way to go is just join the First
Yep.
Order and we'll figure this stuff out together. Like, because, Luke had turned his back on her at that point, like
Right.
several times. Like she, right before she left, she offered him the lightsaber back. And he still turned his back. Like, it would have made perfect sense for her to be like, this is literally the only person in the galaxy that gets me. Let's go this way.
fuck it.
And I'd been fine with it.
Yeah, I would.
There was a lot of discussion around the Kylo and Rey storyline and everything.
Yeah.
I heard someone. Okay, first of all, someone pointed out that it was on the Resistance Radio podcast, but they pointed out that it's like Kylo is being a manipulative, like, abuser kind of guy. Like, he's like, oh yeah, you're nothing, you're trash, come party with me and we'll rule the galaxy and everything.
Yeah.
And then the other hand was that I heard someone else compare it to a girl like being attracted to the bad boy.
Yeah, but he's not the bad boy. Like, he's just an emo dude.
But he killed his dad.
Yeah.
It kind of makes him a bad
Yeah,
guy.
I mean, he ambushed his dad. Like, he did it in the worst way. He's like, oh, daddy, come here. I feel bad. And then all of a sudden, it's like,
And I like how that's mirrored with Snoke's death too, because it's the same type
it
of
is.
thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's cowardice. Like, it's,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like, he
So-
didn't face him down. Like, and I really liked that whole thing where, Snoke saw him killing somebody.
Yeah.
He didn't realize.
Yes.
So he's like,
Yeah.
I see the crushing blow. I see the lightsaber turn.
Yeah.
Like, that was really cool. Like, and like, I don't think,
takes down his true enemy, which I think that was a little, and this isn't anything that really bothered me or anything, but I thought it was funny that it's like, that seems like a little bit like the script is trying a little hard to just work around like that. It's kind of the same as when like Han and Leia are talking about their son and not saying Ben.
They're not saying right. Yeah.
It just kind of felt kind of goofy, but minor blemishes and otherwise
It's minor.
perfectly
And-
fine.
and
yeah.
it works for the story, and it works
Yeah.
for like what.
And it was
eventually
good for that.
happens. Yeah,
the
exactly.
tension in that scene.
So one of the things that a couple of people I've heard complain about The Force Awakens was how come Kylo Ren could get his ass handed to him in a lightsaber battle with a total noob. And I always said that, well, he's fighting injury. He just got shot by Chewie.
Also, just kind of killed his dad.
Well, and I loved how Snoke kind of addressed that, and it was like, you got beat by this girl that has no training because you were unbalanced. And so I really like how they addressed that
Yeah.
portion of it. So
Well, there's also and it's the thing that I went back to earlier, where if she just accepts the Force, like she's kind of losing at some point, and
yeah.
he's talking to her. He's like, "Your power." I can't remember the exact words he says. Your power from the
You need training.
Your
I
power
can help
from the
you.
Force. and she says the Force. She closes her eyes, and all of a sudden, that's when she wins. Like so,
Yeah.
she
It's like,
like
oh
you
yeah,
know,
that's a thing.
the Force found its vessel, and the Force beat Kylo Ren. It doesn't mean that the girl beat Kylo
Right.
Ren. And not that a girl can't beat Kylo Ren. That's not what I'm saying.
Sexist asshole. Why are you assuming her gender, Peter?
But that's what happened was, you know, she remembered, you know, just surrender yourself to the Force, and all of a sudden the Force took over, and you know, essentially beat Kylo Ren. Like, didn't even beat him. Like, you know,
it was
she
a
struck a
skirmish.
really good
Right.
blow, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
the planet's falling apart. And they both have to go find a way off the planet. So
Which that was one thing that kind of, like when I rewatched The Force Awakens, I was just thinking like, man, they'll never recover Han's body. Like they will never have like a traditional like funeral. I'm like,
No,
What do you know what's traditional in the Star Wars galaxy as far as funerals
Well,
are
that's
concerned?
true.
You burn him anyway.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like
true.
that was the way to ensure that there are no rumors about Han Solo coming back.
Right.
Because they chucked Han Solo into the abyss, and then they blew up the abyss. Like, he's gone.
Like Harrison Ford was like, "This is what you got to do. I'm not
Kill
fucking coming
him.
back for this
Right.
shit."
I don't want rumors. I don't want to answer questions.
So
kill
great.
him.
What about
kill his body?
Han? What if you come back because the Force goes and he punches him?
right. Oh God. Yeah. So some other complaints. I can't think of. Any.
I can't. Most of the complaints I've brushed off.
There are always going to be complaints. There are going to
Yeah.
be people that want. There are going to be people that like that group that doesn't want it to be Force Awakens where it mirrors A New Hope, but they also want it to be a typical Star
Right.
Wars movie.
Yeah.
And that's impossible to do.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene in The Simpsons with the Poochie episode,
Yeah.
where they're doing they're doing the talking to the kids, asking what they want. It's like, so you want a realistic ground based with all kinds of wacky adventures
Right.
and out of sorts characters? Yeah, you kids don't know what you want.
Right.
So what needs to happen, you know what? So what needs to happen to Leia is she gets beamed up into a spaceship at the very beginning. I must go.
My people need me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, people will complain, and I kind of wonder if some of those complaints about like, oh, Luke, they ruined Luke's character and they ruined the whole idea of the Force. How much of that is people bringing their own, not baggage, but their own like, oh, this is how Star Wars is supposed to be.
Well, that is very much people bringing their own perception of Star Wars because, like I've said, Luke's always been a flawed character. He's not the typical hero.
He's not. And the funny thing is, you know, they study the film. They talk about how he's got the typical hero's journey, but he really doesn't.
But
Like,
he's got a hero's journey.
he's got a hero's journey, but it's
in
not the
like
typical.
the Tolkien sense of the word. But he's not a hero. He doesn't have the hero's quality.
Like he's not the reason that everyone wins at the end.
no, he's not.
Right.
So yeah, it's not the typical hero's journey. So I agree. He's
And
super flawed.
You know, and there's that running theme throughout the entire thing that is, you know, never meet your hero.
Right.
And that's exactly what it turns out to be, you know, because like he even says, you know, Luke Skywalker's become a legend, which is, you know, it comes full circle at the end, and all of a sudden Luke Skywalker is the legend.
Right.
Because he faced that, you know, like
Yeah.
there's even a line where he's like, you want me to walk out and face the front, the whole First Order with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sword, and which is ultimately kind of what he does.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, but like, that kind of turns the whole trope on its head because he's not the typical hero, and even though he kind of has a hero's journey throughout New Hope, he's not the typical hero, and he's always been a flawed character. And the fact that he shows up flawed in this movie, it's fitting within his entire arc.
Yeah. And I think that might be my favorite part of the entire movie is that the entire kind of point of the movie is that, at least for Luke's growth and perspective, is that he is this character who's been burdened with the mantle of being a legend in this
Right.
galaxy, and it's him kind of coming to terms with that and then becoming the legend.
He
that he
Yeah.
is. And like that's
he
such
accepts
a
the fact
powerful
that
thing.
he has to be the legend that the galaxy
Yeah.
requires.
Well, there was
It's-
a point where he hit that apex, and I'm sure he thought he was the legend. You know,
Right.
He just blew up, you know, he's helped blow up 2 Death Stars.
Yeah.
You know, he took down the Emperor and Darth Vader, and you know, there's a point where he thinks he's probably infallible, or to the point where he's going to train, you know, multiple Jedi when he never had any training. And
Then he done
gets that-
fucked up.
Yeah, he gets that blast to humility, and all of a sudden, his response is to go, you know, pout and hide.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of the typical Jedi response. Yoda
really
gets
is.
beat by the Emperor, and he's like, must go into hiding.
I like the Sunday before we saw Last Jedi, I watched Revenge of the Sith, and I hate that line. He just hops in the speaker.
Right.
He's like, well,
Yep,
I
gotta go.
Like,
You sure you don't want to take another crack at Yoda?
At this point,
the fate of the galaxy kind of relies on it. Meh.
there might still be Jedi out there. The Sith haven't taken hold. He fights to a stalemate with Sidious. He's like, well, I gotta go into exile. Like, what's your motivation there?
Like,
really, you're gonna go hide in the swamp?
Like even Obi-Wan's like, guess I'll go hide in the desert.
Yeah.
Well, no, Obi-Wan had a purpose. He had to go watch over Luke. Because Luke was hopefully going to at least, do something.
Which is just a little bit creepy. Like, oh, I'm gonna go watch these kids their entire lives.
He's watching.
What are you doing these days? Oh, I walk around this desert and watch this kid.
He's also training with Qui-Gon. So it's just like. That was just the problem with all the prequels was Lucas writing himself out of everything he wrote into Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so there has to be a reason that Yoda goes to Dagobah.
Yeah.
And all it is he fights to a standstill.
He should, you know what? To be honest, he should have been mortally wounded or something, like to the point where he can't fight anymore. Not die, but
he should have just waited until maybe if you found out Obi-Wan at least mortally injured. Whatever you want, Anakin or Darth Vader, and then let them regroup and find out if not everybody got killed. Then you go find them
and
again.
It's established not everyone died because there's several stories about the Jedi still being alive.
So you could have just instead of going to exile, you could have tried again, or maybe at least go down swinging for crying out loud.
Fuck it, I'm gonna hang out in a swamp,
or you go hang out on a Dagobah with Obi-Wan and kind of half-ass train the kid, because I'm sure. Yeah. Young Luke Skywalker would have totally taken to this little Muppet that wants to walk.
Right? He would have loved it.
Yeah, he's kind of funny. He's cute. He's got jokes and stuff.
That sounds like you're turning A New Hope into 3 Men and a Baby.
You've got Owen Yoda and Obi-Wan.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
anything else about The Last Jedi?
No.
I really liked that last scene with Luke and Kylo. I thought it was really cool. I think it's a really neat idea that Luke showed up to Kylo as the Luke that almost killed Kylo. Not the Rey Luke. Just kind of I think that was to elicit an emotional response, which I really dug.
Yeah.
I love the see you around kid because I really think that means Luke's
that was great. He had this swagger to him, the way that
he really did.
His shoulder off, and
I dug it. I really dug it.
In the way that he winked at C-3PO, I love that. Mark Hamill's performance is the best performance.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, he's never been a better actor than right there.
Oh,
voice actor,
right?
No, that's voice acting.
I will say, the first time I saw it. That scene between Luke and Leia, it's so brief that you don't really get a chance to fully grasp the emotional impact of it. The second time I saw it, I teared up.
That's what I wanted. I wanted one last.
Too, and I love that that's what we got. There wasn't a whole lot of dialogue. It was just, it
didn't need to be.
She's like, I changed my hair. Yeah. And then
the dialogue we got was
and it was great.
Incredibly poignant.
Yeah. He hands her the dice and he walks off and I think everybody understands what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. It was now the newness of the film had worn off. I kind of processed the humor and everything else. The gravity of that moment, I teared up. I really liked it. And I'm glad that's the send off we get.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Oh yeah.
Also, Chewie got his hug too.
And Chewie got a hug.
Yeah. Because really, Chewie should have gotten a hug in The Force Awakens.
Okay, so we're jumping way back in the movie. Because R2's always been a bit of a
smartass.
Yeah. When he wakes up and Luke comes on and he plays the Leia message.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great.
There's just so many and we could sit here and talk for hours about. There's so many beats in that movie that just make it a good Star Wars movie, and that was one of the playing the original message that sent him on this journey, reminding him why he has a responsibility to go do something about it. So Those are
Yeah.
my final thoughts. It was a great movie.
It was terrible. I hated it.
The more I see it, the more I like it. It's not only a great film, but it's also it's a great Star Wars movie, and I think it fits very well within the entire what do you want mythology
Storyline.
mythology.
Mythos, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Needed more Gungans. Setting the stage well for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Darth Jar Jar.
And I really want to know more about the guy that like the dirt.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm intrigued now.
Well, that was-
like you're just standing there in a foxhole. You're like,
This is Gareth Edwards.
oh, it's I know.
he was the guy
I know
next to
who
him.
it was.
Oh, this is a guy.
Yeah.
I want to know more about the character.
That
you know,
felt-
it turns from white to red. He's like, I wonder what this is.
He should have just been licking it and just looked at the camera like, schnozberries taste like schnozberries.
I think part of the I really think, and I've heard it stated on several podcasts that other people think this too, but like that's like, okay, it's not Hoth, guys. It's
Right.
just salt. It's not snow.
Well, I mean,
which, yeah.
obviously there's something different going on.
I know, but
Yeah.
that's why that line was in there. Like,
Yeah.
hey guys, this isn't snow.
Right.
So,
Well, you would know
nah.
snow, like, and like, I thought that like we can jump off on tangents all that long.
Yeah.
If you watch that final fight between Kylo and Luke, you know Luke's not there because there's a couple times where Kylo.
I missed it
gets
the
his
first
foothold
time.
and
So
turns
See, I
red.
don't either. I didn't see that either.
And you gotta watch. But
Yeah.
he gets his foothold and it turns red, and Luke's never does. So like,
Yeah,
I dig it. Like,
no, I love that. I love
the
it
story
too.
point. Like, I get it. I felt like the salt thing was a little. I just.
Yeah.
It's
It
salt.
doesn't have, like, obviously, snow doesn't turn red. So,
Right, yeah.
and it doesn't have to be salt. It could be whatever
Yeah.
mineral exists on any planet in the entire galaxy.
I
the fact
kinda-
that friction turns it red,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to make salt. Because like I went home and I like poured a bunch of salt on the table. I started rubbing it really until I started bleeding. It stayed white.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I kind of wish they would
It's
have.
coarse and it gets everywhere.
Damn it! I was just gonna make that joke.
Yes.
I was so primed to make that joke. Damn you! But yeah, I was hoping that they would keep they would have that be the line. Like, oh, it's
Like I dude's dying. He's like, oh,
It's salt. It gets everywhere. Anyway.
So,
Anyway, any parting thoughts on The Last Jedi? Anything else you guys want to discuss?
No, I think we've,
yeah.
like Peter said, we could keep going, but, you know.
we've beaten the dead horse.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's,
Nice.
It's definitely in my top 3, along with Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back.
Nice. And Robert, how about you? Where does it rank?
I hate the where does it rank amongst your Star Wars films. I don't know because they're all going to age differently.
They will.
So, Return of the Jedi used to be my favorite. Now it's Empire. So, 10 years from now, who knows? So I will not rank it.
Where will
Probably
it?
Attack of the Clones.
Probably Attack of the
Yeah,
Clones.
yeah.
I wish I could just wish this movie back. Anyway.
Where?
But Attack of the Clones is so coarse.
It gets everywhere.
How about in your top 10s for the year?
It'll be top 5.
Top 10 for the year.
I still need to. There's been some great films. I mean, you got The Dark Tower.
Hey, that's
No, I don't know. It'll definitely be top 5. It might be top 3. I don't know. I still need to see Shape of Water.
me too.
I saw Shape of Water last week.
Illegally.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I saw it. I paid to see it.
All right.
I am very much a Guillermo del Toro kind of like
Are you sure not an Antonio Banderas fan?
fanboy.
So now I kind of got to keep that in.
Yeah, thank you. So like I also kind of lend myself towards his non-Hellboy movies, but he
Oh, I love his
he
Hellboy
writes.
movies.
Oh, I love the Hellboy movies, but he also he makes these fairy tales that are modern and have very adult themes, but are very much still fairy tales. Like I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
The person I went with really enjoyed it too. So that's probably going to be my top 3.
Okay.
Disaster Artist, I really like.
yeah.
I think I would at least put Last.
When you came in, I missed the opportunity. Oh, hi, Mott. Oh, hi, Mott.
Damn.
Last Jedi, I'll definitely land in my top 5. It might be in my top 3. I'm not sure where I'd put like Disaster Artist because they're such. I mean, they were just
Yeah.
completely opposite experiences.
Oh yeah.
But definitely top 5 of this year. Definitely.
Both.
I haven't seen Three Billboards yet. I
Yeah, I haven't
really
seen
want
that
to see
either.
Three Billboards.
I've been trying so
I have
hard
thoughts
to catch
on
up
it.
on 2017
Did you see it?
movies.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Did you put those thoughts on billboards?
There's only 3 of them.
Did you have 3 thoughts?
I had 3 thoughts.
Yeah, all right. Well, that is our discussion of The Last Jedi. And then do you guys want to stick around for a potpourri?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. I say that. It's your
We'll give
house.
it.
I don't live here. I don't care.
We'll do whatever you want, man.
Have fun. See if Neville wants to do it.
Right?
He already gave his opinion about Rose.
That's
so.
true.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right. So this is the section of the podcast where we kind of wind things down and talk about something that we've watched lately or looking forward to or something that anything we want as long as it smells good is kind of the tagline of that. So Fekkes,
Fekki.
What's your guys' potpourri?
I saw. I was a little late to the game. I saw Coco.
Nice.
Oh, man.
About 10 days ago, and I loved it. Like, as far as Pixar films go, probably top 3.
Nice.
The music was great. The animation was great. The story was great. The characters were awesome.
Hit you right in the feels.
It does.
yeah.
Like, it's
Oh,
a gut
yeah.
punch,
Yeah.
like several times. I saw where it was going, and then that doesn't mean anything.
No,
Like,
it's a children's movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's it's not Hitchcock,
Right.
Like, so
Right.
that doesn't diminish anything. I saw where it was going, but I liked how they got there. That's like we were talking about top fives for the year, top movies for the year. That's definitely on it. Like
Nice.
That's
going to be.
I really enjoyed
that's
it.
fighting for my number 1 spot right now.
it's up there for me.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Cassie got me 2 pops from the movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I got Diego and I got what is
Hector.
it? Hector.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was the wife. Yeah, I agree. That was fantastic, and besides Incredibles, it might be my favorite Pixar movie.
I really think so.
Yeah, it's hard to say where it lands with Pixar movies for me because I love Pixar movies,
Yes.
but yeah, definitely has a lot of staying power.
And just
That 20-minute short, quote unquote short, was
22
garbage,
minutes.
though. Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
it
they
was
pulled it
awful.
after a
Yeah,
few
no,
weeks.
Oh man, it was.
But see, I've never been a Frozen guy.
Even if I liked Frozen, but man, first of all, a 22-minute story about Olaf.
so
Yeah.
it's like a 22-minute Jar Jar story.
Yes,
It's like what
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like the Clone Wars, like the Clone War episodes that are
right.
skip those.
Oh, those were terrible.
I'm gonna be so fine.
No, but yeah, you did not. First of all, you're going to put like we said, it's a children's movie, and Coco was like an hour and 45 minutes, and then you're going
It's on the long side.
yeah, so you're going to add 22 minutes to that.
Right.
Fuck off.
It's like a Jar Jar holiday special.
yeah, it really was.
Oh, yeah.
and it was
And
it
it's-
was terrible.
And like I have no allegiance to Frozen. I saw it once and fell asleep partway through it, and I was just like, okay. But I love Christmas stories, like Christmas themed stuff, and I'm like, I don't give any
Yeah.
shits about this.
So did you see the Star Wars holiday special?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I
The
happy-
lights- the
happy
lights
left day.
celebration?
I wanted so bad when
Dude, it's on YouTube. Like, it's not
I
hard
know.
to find anymore. Like, I mean, it's at you can buy it on DVD at every con, but you can just get it on YouTube.
Right. I am slowly getting more into Star Wars, and I don't want to.
Don't.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to see
Don't watch the Ewok films. Don't
Oh,
watch
God, the Ewok films.
I did get Star Wars Rebels season 1 through 3 for Christmas, so
nice.
I'm very much looking forward to
nice.
seeing those.
Clone
so.
Wars is better. Like, Clone Wars has more adult, people, it's Clone Wars. People die, like, there are dire situations. In my opinion, the Rebels series is a little more kid oriented and stuff.
Disney
Like,
XD.
it really is. But not to say that it's bad,
But it's
like,
it's canon, so
is canon.
I have to know what happens.
Right.
So.
So Robert, what do you got for potpourri?
So our Christmas tradition is that we typically try to go see a movie, and we went to go see Jumanji.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
I've heard good things.
I'm a huge rock fan, so obviously that's enough to get me into the seat. And I didn't have high hopes for this film. I really didn't. I don't love Kevin Hart. I love Karen Gillan, but not for her acting prowess.
Sure.
But
She's not acting proud. She was good in the Guardians movies.
she was,
Yeah.
but that's not what draws
Don't be a
me to. Yeah.
misogynist.
But it was
she and Mary Sue?
Wait, she was a dude, right?
no,
If
no,
I have
no,
the
no, no.
idea right with the trailer?
No,
Okay.
but It was actually really fun. It was a fun. So the premise is obviously these teenagers get sucked into Jumanji has morphed from a board game to a video game because
they didn't learn the first time.
Well, it establishes early that the Jumanji essence realizes that nobody plays board games anymore, legit, and then it turns itself into a video game.
Oh, it's self-aware.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these high school kids get drawn into the video game. One of these high school kids is a 30-year-old. That'd be Fridge.
Wow.
Definitely looks 30 too.
God.
30 also, not 32. I mean, it could be specific.
Yeah, I mean, if you look 30, you might as well look 32.
So their game avatars are obviously Karen Gillian plays the kind of the nerdish girl. The Rock plays the nerdish guy. Fridge, the football player, is played by Kevin Hart, and then the popular pretty girl is played by Jack Black.
Right.
So it's funny watching the actors portray the high school kids, except for Kevin Hart. Because he's just Kevin Hart.
He's Kevin Hart and everything.
He doesn't act like a giant football player guy.
He's not
he acts like Kevin Hart, and which is fine. And he had a couple of funny moments. I don't know why, but I love the line of "Nobody gets in the water with a backpack." Everybody knows that. I don't know why. It's funny to me.
I don't know why.
Yeah, but anyway, but there's a lot of good jokes. There's a lot of good video game jokes, like talking about like avatars and talking about NPCs, non-playable characters, and things like that. And some of the action sequences are fun.
I'm sure.
The Rock, as he always does, has to give somebody the rock bottom. Of course, he does it. He does it in every action film he does. So no, it was fun. It's not going to make my top 10. I'm never going to go out of my way to see it again. But it was a fun Christmas movie to go watch.
Is it worth watching in the theater?
No.
Okay. Just asking,
Yeah.
asking for a friend.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So to kind of round us out, I have a few things I could bring up. I'm just going to bring up Valerian in the City of 1,000.
Oh, I'm curious.
Yes. So,
I mean, we talked a little.
Yeah. Visually, it's beautiful. It's a gorgeous movie. And it does what Luc Besson did really well with The Fifth Element. Is it builds like it puts you into this universe that
forever a movie that deserved a sequel.
Yeah, I had recently watched it for the first time, and the whole time I was watching, I was like, I want to live in this movie for longer. And I kind of got the same feeling, maybe not to the extent that I did with The Fifth Element, but the movie itself was kind of good and bad. Like visually, it was amazing. I love the visuals of it. The kind of tone that it struck was a little bit. There was a little bit of a mix of like Star Trek and Star Wars. Like Star Wars had this it had like this episodic feel that you're just kind of jumping into this, not this grander story, but you're jumping into this one story that's told over this movie, and then you're done. It's kind of like the New Hope in that regard a little bit, but. Then like Star Trek has like there's like several different agencies of different species and stuff that are governing together, and it's kind of this big geopolitical thing or galactic
kind of like the space BMV and that awesome
Jupiter Ascending?
Yeah, Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
Sort of like that, but not
terrible.
Not horrifyingly bad. But
God, I hated that movie.
Yeah. The problems though was that
you didn't like his elf ears?
His space skates?
Yeah,
right.
The space skates were amazing.
Oh God. But the problem no, you're fine. The problem with Valerian is that it was just the central story between the two characters, Dane DeHaan and Cara Levine. I don't know. Levine.
I think.
Yeah, like she was great in it. I
like her. Especially if somebody starting off as a model and then jumping. I think she does some good stuff.
Like her, like she has this attitude to her that's like she's like she's not just like she's just the damsel or anything like that. She actually has like things to do in the movie, and it counterbalances Dane DeHaan's character fairly well. But my problem is that like we're introduced to their whole subplot throughout the movie is like something about their relationship together as partners and everything, and like it's such a weak thing. Like you have no time to develop them as characters together or have any kind of connection. It's just like, okay, we're partners. They both want these different things, and let's see them struggle with that when they have time, when they're not going through all this crazy stuff. for the plot. It's like it felt just so empty, and the chemistry wasn't there between them. And Dane DeHaan, I mentioned on Twitter.
You don't like him?
That
I don't.
I do.
I like him as an
like him.
actor.
I do too.
Just not in this movie.
I don't.
Chronicle, he was great in.
I thought he was really good
He was
in Chronicle.
great because like he looks like a little emo douche.
Yeah.
But everything I've seen him in since, I don't like. I didn't like him in Spider-Man.
I liked his Spider-Man.
He's not a leading man. Here's the thing.
Didn't say it was.
He's not a leading man. And what this called for, what this
Was a
role
leading
called for,
man.
was a Lothario leading man. And he's not. Like, you don't buy it. Even like you know, they shove it down your throat. Like he's got this history with girls and stuff. Like,
and they don't like show you that.
They
like,
don't. They just kind of reference it.
They just
like,
reference. They tell it like, oh, hey, here's my playlist of all my
been banging
conquests.
girls. Like,
it's like, all right,
He's not like a good looking guy.
Well, and that's not. He didn't have to be good looking, but he didn't have that swagger of a leading. Like he just
exactly.
He doesn't portray himself as a leading man. It didn't like that's part of why the entire movie didn't work because like there's no chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, and like the whole movie, I was trying to put together like what he was reminding me of, and like after I saw the movie, I was like, it kind of seemed like he was trying to do like Bruce Willis in The Fifth Element, like he was trying to ape him. But then someone on Twitter corrected me and said, no, he was doing Keanu in Speed. Like, and it was like
very much.
That's
Really?
exactly the performance that he gave.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, and like there's no depth to it. It's just just feels like he's doing that, and it just feels just weird, and there's a disconnect.
There are action beats, and he's not an action hero either. Like,
Did you see A Cure for Wellness?
I haven't seen it yet.
Because I thought he did a really good job with that. He's a kind of a pompous ass, and without any reason to be a pompous ass. I thought he was really good in that.
Like I'm sure there are roles out there for him, but like this wasn't it.
Yeah,
and like I said, Chronicle, he did a very good job because I feel like I don't want to say typecast, but like that was very much within his wheelhouse. He looks like a little emo douche,
sure. Right?
And like he pulled that off really well.
And he actually had like that character had really good growth throughout that movie.
It did, yeah. Like there was an actual character to it.
Yeah,
like,
and this is just like
he's supposed to be
bland.
Like he's supposed to be Han Solo, and he comes off as just like a civil servant. Like,
oh yeah.
You know, but there are some really good visuals to it, and it's such an amazing concept. Like it takes the idea of nowhere for Guardians of the Galaxy and like blows it up like 1,000-fold. Like there were 1,000 different ecosystems, like different planets, all on like this one infrastructure.
Yeah. That's why I was super curious about it because the concept looked
amazing. Especially if you like make it like a cop movie where you're going from planet to planet, and like but you don't spend a whole lot of time. Like you spend a whole lot of time in the city, and you spend a little bit of time in a couple different planets, but you don't. They don't use it the way I would have hoped for it to been used.
Yeah,
like chase scenes through different planets, or
right.
Like having informants on different planets. Like you just there's so much you could do with it. Like the concept is great, and they maybe have established something. I don't know that it made enough money to warrant.
Oh, I'm sure it didn't.
See, and that's kind of the thing. That's what I've heard is that it didn't make the money at the box office.
Right.
It bombed at the box office.
Yeah, but Luc Besson did before the movie even was finished or released. Like he sold it to foreign territories and sold the rights to it. So he actually made the budget back before the movie was released. Yeah, so it was profitable, but.
In the most obscure way a movie can be profitable.
But if you showed somebody that trailer, like I don't think anybody that saw the trailer would be like, oh no, that's gonna eat a dick. Like
its worldwide gross was 132 million, and its budget was 177.
Yeah,
which not as high of a budget.
That's not even counting marketing and.
I think they always count marketing within the budget. Yeah, I think that's always incorporated.
Are you on Box Office Mojo?
No, I'm on IMDb.
Okay, I think I'm pretty sure that they factor that in, but the But yeah, the kind of thing that I came away from, and what I've read that Luc Besson has said is that he doesn't see it as like a failure or anything, because like the way that he put it, there's a quote where he says something like, we live in an age where, movies, time was you would release a movie and it would have 9 weeks in the theater to make its money back and everything. Now it's in theaters for a few weeks, and then you have VOD, and then you have DVD and Blu-ray, and then you have all these different things that if it's successful, yeah, we could do a sequel if it's successful in the long run, if people want it. And
Well, that's the only reason they keep making Transformers, because those
Yeah.
things have been bombing at the box office for the last 2 of them.
They bomb at the American box office. They don't.
The China, well, yeah,
Yeah.
China loves them, but they also kill in the Blu-ray market as well and
Mm-hmm.
VOD.
Which doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, you know, the movie's not going to be different from when the time you see
Yeah.
it.
It's picture the Walmart bin and
Yeah.
the people
No, you're
going to
right.
Walmart
Yeah.
and picking through every little movie they can find. Like, oh, this is $10 this week. This will be a
Right.
great deal. I want to watch a 3-hour movie about giant robots and
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf.
And you know, like
Which
the Knights of the Round Table robots.
I defend
This
1 and
last
3
one was-
still. I didn't even see it, but I defend 1 and 3. I love those films, but
No, this
okay.
last one was good because Optimus Prime was a bad guy now.
oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was Merlin and then the Knights of the Round Table and
And Mark Wahlberg was there.
Mark Wahlberg was there.
So yeah,
This is a Transformer.
they got Anthony Hopkins too. Oh.
Anthony Hopkins.
Oh yeah.
Apparently,
And
so.
Anthony Hopkins had a British robot butler.
Yeah, he did. Of course
No,
he did. Of course he. No, I believe you. It's just. It's
And
just.
it's snarky. It's like a Kmart version of K2SO.
Oh God.
Yep. Not
That's-
seeing that.
Oh
Anyway.
wow. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this
Yep.
episode.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think we've
yeah.
covered everything.
Yeah.
Also, Richard Jenkins for Best Supporting Actor, Shape of Water.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
Oh,
He's amazing in
No,
everything.
he
he really
He's
is.
incredible.
he stole it, and that's the first thing I said when I walked out. I was like, if he doesn't at least get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, like
I've always been a fan of his.
Me too.
fantastic.
James Franco, Best Actor. Serious?
Yeah?
No,
Yeah?
he
That's a
really
comedic
disappeared.
role.
No, no,
He did
no.
disappear.
He
I
did.
disagree. No, it's James Franco doing a bit. Like,
I
I'm sorry.
disagree.
No, like because it was Seth Rogen, Adam Goldberg, and James Franco doing what they do, which was fine. And
thought
I
it
enjoyed the movie, but it was James Franco doing a bit. At no point did I watch that movie and not see James Franco doing a bit.
Have you seen the IGN video of him doing?
I haven't seen that yet.
He's quoting ridiculous video game lines from like decades of video games as
Tommy
Wiseau. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Okay.
So they do like.
I still think it's him doing a bit. I don't.
Well, you're wrong. So anyway, Best Actor.
So, okay.
And I saw someone say that, like, also, like, oh, it's just he's doing, I think it was on Reddit or something. Someone was like, he's just imitating Tommy Wiseau. I'm like, there's more nuance to that.
There
Like,
really
I think
is.
that there's just a little bit
Like
more.
if he would have just gone and done scene from The Room, I get that. But like he played Tommy Wiseau throughout the endeavor of making
because
this.
he was playing Tommy Wiseau.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just his portrayal of the Room character. It was,
now I will say that I haven't seen The Room, so I
Oh,
can't,
interesting.
I can't. But to me, it felt like James Franco, Seth Rogen, and Adam Goldberg doing what they do, and it was
they
James
did a
Franco
good.
doing
They do a good job.
They did do a good job. It was an entertaining movie. I just don't think it's.
All I'm saying is Idris Elba for Best Actor.
Oh, I know, right? Molly's Game. He looks like he does a great job.
The mountains between us.
Do you know why? Do you know why he should get Best Actor?
Oh, God.
It's because I stayed through 90% of that movie just because of him. I didn't leave until like 20 minutes in, 20 minutes towards the end.
Oh,
I
you
s-
missed the best part.
yeah.
Yeah, the bullet ricochet was
Right.
physics.
Oh,
Anyway,
God.
All right. Yeah, we got off on another tangent.
All right, yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for being on the podcast.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, where can people find you if you want to broadcast your Twitter handles or anything?
At PewDiePew. That's PEUDIEPE. No, I'm sorry, PEWDIEPEW1.
Don't look at my Twitter. It's just a bunch of porn following.
I do a lot of that. There's a little bit of social justice, and then
I'll tell you what, you can the Nerdster330 on Snapchat. How about
Nice.
that? Actually, I think it's the same for Instagram.
Yeah, I think it is.
Instagram.
Yeah, I love Instagram. It's fun.
I do it for branding.
I'm gonna take a picture of you and post on
That's
Instagram.
fine. I'm Wade Wilson 2709 on Snapchat, but like
There you go.
it's mostly just dog pictures.
He's gonna be on his- he's gonna be on
Twitter is
Instagram
way
now.
more entertaining than Snapchat. So.
Nice. Yeah, well, you can follow me at Obsessive Viewer on everything except for Snapchat. I have a weird Snapchat handle, but yeah. I'm not going to broadcast it. Yeah, it's whatever makes you. which because when I set it up, the person I was in the same room with was like, what should my Snapchat handle be? And they're like, whatever makes you happy. And I'm like, all right, whatever. There you go. And it didn't fit, so I'm like, all right, whatever makes you. Anyway,
it's like Thrill House on Simpsons.
Right. All right. Well, thanks again, guys, and this has been a very fun discussion. Can't wait to talk to you guys again once we get the Solo movie, and then Jar Jar and all the
Jar Jar movie.
That's Rian Johnson.
Jar Jar's Senate Adventures.
It'll be the Gungan trilogy from Rian Johnson. The next Star Wars story is supposed to be Kenobi.
That's
the rumor.
As long as it's Ewan. Well, that's not a rumor. They're beginning production. I don't know if the next one. They're beginning production soon.
Ewan McGregor wants to do it.
Yeah,
I want Ewan McGregor. He is the one bright spot through the entire trilogy, like episode 1 through the prequels, episode 1 through 3. He is,
acting wise, you're correct, but there's a lot of good set pieces in the trilogy.
I would say I just meant lightsaber duels were
especially that fight with Grievous. I love that fight with Grievous.
And I was never into that until this most recent one, because I always thought Grievous is kind of a weird character, but that fight, just the way that he's commanding that fight,
he's
it's very cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. And next week, I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm so behind on Anthology and Tower Junkies and everything that we'll see what we have
They're
next
gonna
week.
revisit Dark Tower.
Yes. Dark Tower. It's funny you say that, because on Tower Junkies we are supposed to do a commentary track. Oh, and that reminds me.
Okay, I'm listening to that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do a commentary,
I am not ever watching that film again.
I'll do it just for that.
Anyway.
And that also reminds me that you can support the Obsessive Viewer and all of our podcasting at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, which I just launched a new kind of special RSS feed for Patreon subscribers, that they get access to movie commentary tracks that I'm going to put up at random intervals. So for Christmas, I just did an entire commentary track for Jingle All the Way. The quintessential
Merry
Christmas movie. Yes. Lot of good one-sided discussions about the dangers of capitalism. And
is that really what that's where you went on that?
No, I think I did at some point.
It should have been an hour and a half of wondering where Sinbad went.
A lot of it, yeah.
Is that guy still alive? Arguing whether or not.
A lot of it actually, and I kind of felt bad about this. A lot of it was actually just shitting on Jake Lloyd as an actor and saying he's actually doing pretty good.
Is he in that movie?
You know what? Anytime you want to shit on Jake Lloyd as an actor, you go right ahead.
Carmel High School alumni.
That's right. Pod racing champion. Just couldn't beat the Louisville.
I was going to say, he lost his last pod race.
So if you want to hear me shit on a kid actor,
Phrasing. You realize what can happen if somebody gets a hold of that audio, right?
we're ending it here. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Check.
Sorry if there's cat hair.
Well, I might get a little loud, so.
Oh, okay.
He will get a little loud.
Nice.
I get animated.
Especially when we're talking about
the Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Since we're 5 months out now, we're going to retroflective of the Dark Tower.
Everybody's seen it at least 20 times, right? So,
I couldn't believe how many copies I was seeing in Best Buy.
It's everyone's buying them digital these days.
Yeah, it's got to be it. Yeah.
Physical media is going out.
It is. Yeah,
that's the reason you can buy it for $1 right now.
Yeah. That's it. I think it's fun.
I think I saw him at Bed Bath & Beyond as coasters, actually.
I had a coupon where you get 5 copies free.
Oh, God.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.